morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has declared 3 vacancies in the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission IEBC. In a Gazette notice, President Ruto said the declaration was in accordance with Section 7A2 of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. The tenure of the IEBC chairperson of Chebukati and the 2 commissioners, Boya Molu and Abdi Guliye, is set to lapse on the 17th of January 2023. According to the Electoral Boundaries Commission Act, the president is expected to appoint a selection panel consisting of 7 persons for purposes of appointment of the chairperson or member of the commission at least 6 months before the lapse of their term. Now, Siaya Governor James Orengo has asked Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka not to abandon ODM leader Raila Odinga politically. Speaking at a church service attended by Kalonzo in Kisumu, Orengo emphasized that Kalonzo and Raila still have a chance to lead the country.
I think the Lord has something good for us coming. Not coming tomorrow, but the signs can be seen today if we truly pray to the Lord. I want to say that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga, if there's God's will, if it is really that God's will, you will rise up and lead this country to greater greatness.
Orengo's statement has come at a time when President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua have admitted to persuading Kalonzo to join and serve in government.
Mimi mwenyewe nimemtafuta huyo Stephen, nimeketi chini na yeye, nikamwambia ndio hii serikali tuende pamoja, akaniambia kwanza anataka kujaribu ya upinzani. So wacha jaribu kidogo, alafu tutaona vile. Wacha jaribu ya upinzani kwanza tuone vile mahali itafika, alafu tunaweza kuongea tena baadaye. So there is no problem. Hata ya upinzani ni kazi pia.
Speaking after the service, Kalonzo said his focus more on the plan to appoint new commissioners to replace chairperson of Chebukati and commissioners Boya Molu and Abdi Guliye, whose term of service are nearing completion. Kalonzo asked the government not to use the opportunity to remove the other 4 commissioners, that is, Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, and Justice Abonyo. Now, the multi-agency operation to recover the missing firearm following a bandit attack in Turkana East, Turkana County, comes to an end today. This is according to TRT Sub-County Deputy Commissioner Jackson Orieng, who said 5 firearms have been recovered and authorities are zeroing in on the remaining firearms believed to be hidden in the Akoret area in TRT Baringo County. Orieng said and was speaking during a meeting that brought together the county leadership, professionals, elders and religious leaders to discuss the bandit menace in the region. The leaders They are called for action against bandits causing insecurity in Baringo and the North Rift region. The meeting resolved to support the government's multi-agency security operation in Turkana, West Pokot and Baringo counties, following an order by President William Ruto for security agencies to deal firmly and decisively with those involved in last month's banditry attack that claimed the lives of 8 police officers. Now, the National Assembly Committee has retreated to draft a report to be debated, considered and voted on in the National Assembly as required by the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011. After a rigorous vetting process of 24 nominees to the Cabinet, 22 as Cabinet Secretaries, 1 as Prime Cabinet Secretary and 1 as Secretary to the Cabinet, the 15-member Committee on Appointments of the National Assembly concluded the exercise over the weekend. The last to appear was the Secretary to the Cabinet nominee Mercy Wanjau, and legislators now retreat to review the performance of the interviewees. And Kabushai Member of Parliament Majimbo Kalasinga has urged United Democratic Alliance Party leader President William Ruto not to field a candidate in the upcoming senatorial by-elections in Bungoma County. Speaking in Kabushai after meeting Ford Kenya officials, Majimbo said the party had endorsed David Wafula Wakoli to contest for the seat that was left vacant after Moses Wetangula was elected as National Assembly Speaker. The MP said those fronting former Bomula MP Mwambu Mabonga as UDA party candidate for the senatorial seat are broke-a-zua after his money. The leaders present called on the residents of Bungoma County to vote for Akoli as a youthful and energized leader. The Bungoma senatorial seat fell vacant after Wetangula, who was under Ford Kenya ticket, was elected National Assembly Speaker. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody wants to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do. Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, Monday morning, coming towards the tail end of the month and looking at what is going on in different parts of these Nairobi streets. A little bit of traffic getting into the CBD right now, and we're likely to see that build up coming in from the Thika Superhighway. It's already building up as you get towards Murang'a Road. And we'll see that happen for most of the morning. Coming off James Gishuru, that looks good, at least for now. You're not seeing much of an issue coming out of Westlands, but we'll continue to check up on that and see. Let's take a look at Ngong Road coming into the city. That looks all right for now as well. We're seeing a little bit here and there on Naivasha Road and then heading out towards Gitanga Road. All right, what's happening on Ombaso Road? Traffic is moving along swiftly. Not much of an issue here at all. We'll see some action then coming in from North Airport Road, heading out towards Outer Ring, which will in turn touch on the Thika Superhighway. Keeping an eye on things for now. Traffic is looking pretty good. You'll get where you're going without too much of an issue. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter in order to keep things moving this morning.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 8 minutes after 6 o'clock and it's Monday the what? It's Monday the 24th of October. How are you doing? Good to have you in the room today, lining up the week and getting into it and finishing the month. Abby? Okay. Good morning. Hope all is well with you. CT, good morning.
Good morning, Ndu.
How are you?
I am fine now.
Good.
Yes.
Is somebody doing jumping jacks in the studio?
No, it's not. That wasn't the jumping jack.
What's that?
Stretching jack.
High knees. Stretching Jack. Stretching Jane. Good morning, Eric.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Imagine.
I should imagine that you're all right.
What? Yeah.
Okay. I'm just imagining.
Because what? Anyway, yeah. So I have this silly cold that I'm just dealing with. Yes. That's why I sound like I'm speaking from the nose.
The nose. Kodahoba.
Kodahoba. It's because of using the AC. Strongly so. Yeah, man.
Where were you using the AC?
In my car. So on Friday when I left here, I went to see my mother in a Loy Tok. And of course, you know me, I can't just go directly. Normally, you just go down Mombasa Road to Emali, turn right, 60 kilometers, home. It's too mainstream.
You went a little drive
Walkabout.
No, drive about. Where did you drive about this time?
I got to Konza, turned left, went to Machakos, turned right, went to Wote, continued, came off of Kibwezi, not Kibwezi, of
Emali.
not Emali. This place is a Sikh temple.
Sultan Ahmad.
No.
Oh,
It's
You
called-
know the one.
I know
I'm
that
saying.
one.
It is.
Yes, I
Been
can
there
even
too.
see it.
That one.
Yes.
oh
I can even
God.
see it.
Remember,
It's right on the tip of my tongue.
No, relax, it'll come.
Oh.
Yes.
It's not Kibwezi.
No, it's not Sultan Ahmad either.
Right.
It's got a very specific. We'll remember.
Something. Yeah. So yeah, like that. So it's hot out there, my guys. Where? At some point I was in Kathonzweni and the temperature outside was 32 degrees.
Good grief.
Hey.
And
Hot,
where's
dry.
Kathonzweni?
Kathonzweni is in Makueni County. It's after you pass Water Town as you're heading towards Makindu.
Makindu.
Yes.
Makindu. I was like, there was a field trip to Makindu.
Yeah. So that's where Kathonzweni. So Kathonzweni is somewhere in between there.
Kathonzweni.
Yeah. The thing about the topography of Makueni, so from right here, not beyond Katumani, you actually go through a very hilly and windy road from Machakos getting into Makueni County, very windy, hilly, uphill, downhill into Water. From Water now, the other side is plain and flat. And hot
Must be interesting.
and dry. Yeah.
So you kept the AC on
So
in the
the
car?
AC was on at full blast fun. Where? By Fred. Here we are. Anyway, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. 24th day of October 2022. Today we are going to have several conversations. One, we are going to host Dr. Miguna. He is back in the country. Yes, we know how he went. Yes, we know how he came back. Yes, we know that he is a big supporter of the current administration and President William Ruto. Yes. So I want to hear what his thoughts are on various things. Keep it here for that. 7 a.m. Miguna on the hot seat of the Situation Room. At 8 o'clock, let's talk about Mkenya Daima. And the chairman of the Mkenya Daima Foundation, industrialist, who? Vimal Shah will be with us at 8 to look back at what the work of Kenya Daima has been and the impact of the Kenya Daima campaign prior to the election and what they will be doing now between now and 2027. Remember when we hosted Kenya Daima people here, including Daisy Amdani, they were talking about the thing that you need to do is keep the government in check. Even after elections, we have to have the uwajibikaji. So, Vimal Shah will come and tell us whether tunawajibika or not. Yes, that is at 8 a.m. Tell us about COVID and cholera and everything else.
COVID and cholera, right. There's so many things going on. Let's look at the numbers in Kenya. For now, 35 new cases of COVID. So the question is, what's going on? We've looked at sub-10 numbers over the last 7 weeks or so. Actually, beyond that, probably double that. 35 new cases from a sample size of 890. Then gives Kenya a positivity rate of 3.9%. All right? That's what we're looking at now. Currently, 0 recorded deaths yet again. So this is a good thing. The question is, why the rise? What is going on? But, still being able to keep things at bay. So 35 new cases, 34 of them are in Nairobi, 1 of them in Kiambu County. Let's look around the world at what's going on. The CDC director has tested positive for COVID-19. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who is the director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, tested positive for COVID Friday. She's experiencing mild symptoms. She's up to date with her COVID vaccines, and she received a COVID-19 booster in September. So she's been consistent with CDC guidelines, isolating at home, and she'll attend her meetings virtually. Those who've been in close contact with her are taking the appropriate action to monitor their health. Cases have been falling in the United States, even as they move into the crisper months in terms of weather. Experts say they may begin to climb as they have during the last two pandemic winters. We saw the same thing in 2021 and the same thing in 2020 as well. Likelihood of seeing cases rising in the US and the rest of the Western Hemisphere as temperatures drop. So it's to watch out for that. And the world is also saying there's something, according to the New York Times, called the triple-demic, the flu, COVID, and other issues rising. Something to watch out for going into the next few months. That's what it looks like for COVID.
Okay. We are live streaming the show, as always, on YouTube and Facebook. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from. After we take a look at the weather forecast, we will be doing our usual morning shout-outs on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram as well. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 2022. My friend, bado unalipa rent? It's time to say goodbye to your landlord and say hello to your own home, courtesy of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Hapa KMRC tumeiweka simple sana. You can now own a home through our affordable home loans at fixed, less than 10% interest rate and for a longer repayment period of up to 25 years. Tumepartner with your local banks and SACCOs for this. Unangoja nini? KMRC inakusort na dream home yako. Kulipia nyumba yako ni kama tu kulipa rent. Visit www.kmrc.co.ke to see the participating banks and SACCOs na uanze maisha yako in your own keja. Jijenge na KMRC. Rent yako, keja yako. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 28 and lows of 16 this Monday. It's clear at 12 in Nakuru, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 27 as well. In a partly cloudy Nyeri at 15. It's 12 degrees and clear in Eldoret, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 30 in a partly rainy Mombasa in some parts, that is at 24. It's 25 and mostly cloudy in Malindi, highs of 30 and lows of 24. 19 and cloudy morning in Kisumu, highs of 31. And we'll see highs of 30 in a clear Kakamega at 15. 20 and mostly clear in Kampala, highs of 29. And we'll see highs of 30 in a mostly sunny Dar es Salaam this morning at 22. Partly cloudy conditions at 14 in Johannesburg, highs of 23 and lows of 13. And it's raining in Lagos this morning as the flooding does continue through most parts of Nigeria at 25, highs of 31. Kinshasa is raining as well at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Monday afternoon is sunny in Beijing, highs of 20 and lows of 4. And we'll look at cloudy conditions at 17 in Paris with highs of 19. It'll come down to lows of 14. It's 14 and raining in London as well, highs of 18 and lows of 12. And cloudy conditions Sunday night in New York. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 16 and lows of 13.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
18 minutes after 6. Who's online?
Okay, so Bramwell Bokekedi says good morning. He's tuning in from Busia. And 254 and Atieno Jermaine Jackson is tuning in from Kisumu. Moses Katela says good morning. Andrew Franklin reminding us that place is called Makindu. Good morning to you, Andrew. Helen Joguna says good morning. Pamoja Tena Sana Dani Kabisa. And Cleophas Anam says Kolwen Nyakach sub-county is tuned in. Tuning from Kibera and listening Benapudo. And good morning, tuning from Mombasa, Robert Mbogo, and Gachosho is present this morning. Good morning, Motherland. That's what Solomon Chepalungu says, all the way from NC. I'm going to assume that's North Carolina. I'll just assume for now. Jane Jesh says good morning, and Emmanuel is also tuned in this morning. Charles Jenga says he's tuned in from County 001. Kilgoris Town is where Ledama Mepetu is tuned in this morning. Teacher Bunde Kenya says good morning, lady and gentlemen. Tuned in from Gong, Kajiado County. See you, karibu karibu. And James Kimanzi said he's tuned in from Palms Resort, Nyali, Mombasa, eagerly waiting for Mr. General. Well, all right. Peter Kigumo, also we see you. Otieno Mark is tuning from Busia, Nambale. And good morning, Kisumu County is tuned in. That's where Dennis Tegay is. Kobu Joy. Kobu Joy. Okay. Tuning from Nandi County, that's where Samuel Dunda is. And Joseph Minor, we see you as well. Mercy Kamau, my favorite morning addiction. Good morning, Karibu Sana. Sodium, somebody is calling him or herself sodium hydroxide. Well, all right. You want us to speak about the kazi mtani money? Kazi tulifanya, lakini bado malipo.
Bado mko mtaani.
Are you serious?
What?
If he says so.
Good Lord in heaven.
We will ask maybe the others who have had the same experience.
That's still a thing. My goodness. Okay. Collins Courier says, good morning. He's tuning from Kakamega. And Dactario Choco, we see you in Kisii as well. People representing Nakuru, Racha, Jose, Nico present, Kutoka Baringo, Nyakechi. That's where Aaron Seme is. Good morning from Kwamtutsi Mwingi. What a day. Looking forward to the Maguna interview. Okay. Tuning from Nyachichi Secondary School, Kitutu, Masaba, Nyamira County, Orure, Matureti. So many people online this morning. You guys have woken up with a bang. We see you, Daniel, Joshua, Ken, Buchi, Katambi, and Collins. Karibuni Sana. Good morning.
Everybody, welcome. It's how many days to go? Yesterday the people of Mombasa participated in the virtual run, the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. And today is day 2 of virtual running.
Yes.
So if you registered for the virtual run and you have the app, so just go, run your race. 10, 21, 42 kilometers. Log in your times. Let's see the leaderboard. How it's looking like at the end of the week.
Indeed, do the thing. If today was the day you were planning to go for the virtual run, do it. Do it in the comfort of your home. And if you're in Kisumu or Kakamega, remember you can do that on the 28th and 29th respectively before the physical run takes place a week from yesterday. So that will be fun to see. Nairobi Standard Chartered Marathon taking place virtually, and then the physical run on the 30th of October.
Indeed. City. So we are out of the country of Somalia.
No.
We are still there.
There was one particular proverb that I felt I shouldn't move to another country before I mentioned it.
That's interesting because Elikana said, happy Monday, folks. Now that we are done with Somalia, I am eagerly waiting for the next country's proverb, Siti Muga.
We'll begin tomorrow.
Okay.
This one, I found particularly, it was particularly tickling.
Okay.
Yes. A man prolonging his life sees a camel giving birth.
A man prolonging his life
sees a camel giving birth.
Okay. While he was in the business of prolonging his life, he experienced a camel giving birth, or in a quest to prolong his life, he learned the lessons from a camel giving birth. There could be many things here.
I think it's all of the above, really. Because camels do give birth.
One would hope.
That's why the numbers keep increasing.
What's the gestation period of a camel?
I really do not know. But to actually see a camel giving birth, actual.
As in watch it happen.
Yes. To witness it. That is really what we're talking about here. For many people, it's a rare occurrence.
So your life is then prolonged because you've
no. The issue here is not you prolonging your life.
Yeah.
The issue is if your life has been prolonged, the likelihood of seeing the unlikely things is higher. That's my interpretation of it.
The gestation period of a camel is 13 to 15 months.
So give yourself time. You will see things that ordinarily other people have not seen.
As you prolong your life.
As you prolong your life.
As your life is prolonged.
So I'd imagine they are looking at all the other domestic animals that they have, from sheep, goats, to cows, and how quickly they give birth.
Yeah.
And then they look at a camel. And how long before a camel gets pregnant, and then how long before a camel gives birth.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah. An elephant is 2 years.
2.
Yeah.
2 human years.
2 years. 700 and actually 815 days an elephant is pregnant.
Okay.
Gives birth to an adult anyway.
Basically, by the time a baby elephant is born, it can do everything. It just doesn't have the elongated teeth we call tusks.
But then you see, it is only us humans who a child is born and God alone knows how long it takes before that child can walk, do all sorts of things. These are the people with whom we share the
They're
planet.
eating branches by the end of the evening.
Yeah, they want kidogo to here and there.
Give
just
birth, run, walk.
Yes, get married. I mean, quickly.
Anyway, thank you for that one, City. Yeah, it was worth it. Hiya, let's look at the newspaper headlines. What's on the front pages?
Front page of Standard this morning. Police seek clues on missing Indians in the container of death, which we'll look at. But speaking of death, just below that is the sad picture of some more livestock that have succumbed to their because of the poor position when it comes to the drought. Poor rains blow to Ruto's food security plan. Counties are shelving their development plans to deal with drought that threatens the existence of communities. The hope for cheap food is complicated by poor rains and high inputs. So that's one that's grabbed the nation yet again. Look, it never really went anywhere. 18 months ago, we've been talking about this for 18 months.
Yeah.
And here we are. It doesn't look good. Turkana is in the throes of hunger. Again, a really sad picture on the front page of The Nation. Humanitarian crisis. We arrive at a homestead, which is the story that's taken place here. And there's a tearful gaze from their children whose sunken eyes tell their own story. Lack.
What are the photos on the front pages?
Well, I mean, we've got a photo of dead livestock, weak livestock, on the front page of the Standard. We're looking at a very sad picture of a child on the front page of The Nation. Hunger has weakened him to the point whereby he's unable to get up.
Wow.
There are other stories on the front page of The Nation as well, which, you know, we can give some attention to. But what is grabbing and what should continue to grab our attention is that Kenya is hungry.
I'm glad that these are the headlines today.
Yep.
I mean, these are the photos in the headlines today. Because remember when we were in Kilifi last week and we went to the Kilifi Referral Hospital, we went to the HDU unit where the Kemri researchers are also working. And there was that boy who has been brought to the facility because of malnourishment.
Yes.
And just looking at that boy.
You're talking about that child who could barely lift the hand.
Yep.
Could barely move.
Could barely move.
Yes.
Lying on that bed, struggling to breathe.
Yes.
Flesh gone, just the bones left.
Actually, the skin was, the skin was hanging.
Imagine.
A child.
And that's a child.
And that the thing is, this is a thing. This child is in hospital, not because of an ailment. I'm trying to make it make sense. Not because of an ailment, like or a disease, but because they were hungry.
Yep.
That they had no food, and he got so weak to the point that he had to be brought to hospital to be given fluids so that he could regain. This is what we're talking about.
And it's a story across the country. You know, I was looking at that boy and I imagined if this boy is here like this, can you imagine his siblings? Because definitely he has siblings
He's
who've
not
been
an
left
only
somewhere, right? So the siblings may not be in this hospital.
No.
But
they're not faring any better.
Or what about those
His
who
parents
have not made it to hospital?
Yep.
This one, and I mean, as sad as it was for me to even say it, this boy was blessed enough to make it to hospital.
Yep. And he's getting
treatment.
Best care.
What about those who have not made it to hospital? Unfortunately, who have died at home for hunger.
This child was in HDU, meaning the condition was severe.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many others were in the general ward, the pediatric ward?
Yep.
Now, we're talking about wards that have facilities.
Yeah.
What about the other health facilities in the country, which parts of the country which are drought-stricken and do not have these facilities? What do you think the conditions in these places are like?
I shudder to think. There was a story that was carried over the weekend. I know we're going to break, but I think it's important. The story, a young boy, he couldn't have been more than 9 years old. And he had to go look for water. So he went with his donkey. They went with the donkey. The donkey was to carry water. On the way to look for the water, which they didn't even know they would get, the donkey died.
Yep.
Donkey died. So this boy is grappling with.
So he's just standing there.
He's standing and he's, do I continue?
Dead donkey. So what do I do?
Dead donkey. Do I go back home without
water? If I go back home without water, so what does that mean? If I go ahead and get the water, will I be able to carry it back home? And that's a 9-year-old. It's a sub-10-year-old child.
Yeah.
And this is a story that's everywhere across the country.
In Kenya today.
Yep.
In Kenya.
In some cases, you hear of mothers giving testimonies of children not having eaten for days.
Yes.
Not a day, days.
And this is happening across the country in very many counties. In Kajiado, I was being told by some of my friends there, people have lost heads of livestock. Like 30, 40 die every day. One person's livestock.
That's your wealth gone.
Yes. Somebody has just been counting, today 50 cows dead. Tomorrow another 50 are going to die. Another day and next 50 are going to die. Like that. That's a daily. So people are not even, the way they move and then they construct a boma for the animals to spend the night. So you don't even do anything. You just move. You leave the carcasses there. So it's carcasses upon carcasses upon carcasses.
The really strange twist with all the hunger and the drought and the heat.
Yeah.
Take a guess as to what else is suffering as a result of the heat. Fish.
Fish
are dying in Lake Victoria.
You'll tell us that story. Let's take this break because there's a story as well that's been written on that. 29 minutes to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a Situation Room. Let's take a look at the traffic.
The adults in the room.
He's promiscuous or he's polygamous. We need to get over ourselves.
So I should always know the man that marries me, I know there'll be other women.
Yes.
The relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of the relationships you will have with other people.
Things that we never talk about. 3 things. Stop, breathe, and relax.
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not.
Tune in to Adults in the Room
every Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The Adults in the Room will help you stay winning. Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In certain parts of the city, it hasn't gotten too sticky just yet. Still early pickings in terms of traffic this morning. We're looking at some of it here and there, coming on the Thika Superhighway and then out towards the underpass at Pangani and then into the CBD. Coming out of Westlands doesn't look too bad either. We're looking at a little bit of traffic that's building up there and likely to become quite something as we get closer to 7 o'clock. All right, keeping an eye on things. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
7, you saw that story, City?
Yes.
Fish in Lake Victoria?
This has actually been, the stories began on Friday. So when I started hearing of them, the social media is very useful sometimes.
Yeah.
People commenting, and of course, whenever you hear of, when you talk of fish dying, you're talking about someone's business losses.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because fish are not pets. Okay? If they're in fish cages, they are certainly not pets. And of course, narratives abound as to whether they are being poisoned, whether there's some mischief afoot. But scientists are saying, no, it's not quite that.
What's happened?
One, there's something that is very, very interesting that happens in the lake. It's called a backflow or an overflow. What happens in the lake is not just temperatures rises, but the waters rise. Problem with water rising is 2 things. One, the oxygen content in the water that enables the fish to survive. Fish need oxygen. People may not realize, but they do. Okay. Now, when it's reduced, then fish that are more sensitive to the absence of oxygen will begin to suffer. That's number 1. Now, number 2, in fish cages, you'll find that a lot of fish are concentrated in a particular area. So this also leads to the depletion of the oxygen available for the fish. Now, number 3, affluent and other issues that people keep pushing into the lake. So it contaminates the lake. But of interest to say, they would have assumed that other fish might suffer because Nile perch is argued to be the one that is more sensitive to the absence of oxygen than tilapia. But it's tilapia that's dying. And they are dying in large numbers. Some of the stories that we hear that are heart-wrenching are fish that are 1 month away from maturing. 1 month.
Uh-huh.
Not some dead, all dead. You see, they started noticing fish floating on the top of the lake, and they wondered, what's happening? And when they examined, the numbers just kept increasing, and they kept going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. So now, it appears, this story, if you ask me, has only...
So it's because the waters have become hot. Temperatures hitting how high?
It's below 26 degrees, they say.
Hey.
No, above, sorry. 26,
above 26.
Above 26 degrees, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And when this happens, what it means, these fish have difficulty surviving. Yes. But also, it tells me something else.
Yeah.
When people are going into the business of fish farming, the numbers that one should keep within a certain area is not being adhered to.
Uh-huh.
They are just stockpiling the volumes and the numbers of fish in the fish cages. And this is what is putting the problem. It isn't any different from the concept of overgrazing. If you put a certain number of cows in a certain area, which is above the sort of space that a cow is required for it to graze optimally, then you will have a problem.
So too many fish, too little oxygen.
Yes, too many fish, yes.
In cages.
In cages.
People are counting losses to the tune of millions.
50 millions and rising.
What?
Because they've mentioned just about 5 beaches here. Okay? Othan, Ogal, Nyamarwaka. By the way, Ogal beaches, Nyamarwaka, these are in Kisumu County.
Uh-huh.
Now, we do not know what is happening in Suba. We do not know what's happening in Homa Bay. We don't know what's happening in Migori. We don't know what's happening in Busia.
Why?
And we don't know that this story will also continue if we go to Uganda and Tanzania.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So it just heads south.
Actually, everything is going south here.
Literally.
Okay.
It's just, everything is just going south.
Yes. But the thing that, in my mind, came to the very fore is the talk of food security that we've had even from the previous government.
Yeah.
Talk. Operative word here, talk. And mitigation and measures to take in the event of the very thing that we're talking about now. Where are these measures?
Yep. What are the measures?
Yes.
What are those
measures? If they put measures, where are they?
So, for example, the president was in Kitui yesterday.
Yes, he was.
Okay. Kitui is one of those areas where there is violence that has led to death because of communities fighting.
Yes.
So communities coming from Garissa, people coming from Garissa crossing over into Kitui, and the residents of Kitui accusing them of coming to graze into their farms. And these skirmishes have led to death. The only thing that the president and the deputy said, security officers have been deployed. They know how to deal with that issue. Let's move on.
No. It's not that simple.
Because much of what they were talking about is the politics of going forward, the politics of governing the country, the politics of Kalonzo has refused to talk to us, and now he says he wants to be in opposition. That's what was dominating the conversation. DP Rigathi Gachagua saying, talk to your guy, we don't understand Kalonzo anymore.
That's not a priority, really.
That is the issue that you're taking to a county that is among those that are facing starvation.
These guys haven't moved. That push for political talk that we had during the campaigning hasn't gone down.
It hasn't gone down anywhere.
No, it really hasn't.
By now, we should be hearing of the president holding meetings with the governors from these counties and looking at, okay, so you guys, how much do you have in your budget? What can we do? When you're talking about bringing a supplementary budget before Parliament, can we put in some money that goes specifically towards feeding the hungry, providing water to the people, providing relief?
Because you look, truth of the matter is that right now you don't need anything else. That's what you need.
Yeah.
People need to eat today. People need water today. We had heard that maybe there will be water bowsers going around counties, etc. We heard. Has it been done? Unfortunately, not yet. Beyond the first tranche of food that we saw going out, we haven't seen and
that tranche has not arrived.
It hasn't arrived. Kilifi people told us that they've not seen anything. They were waiting. They've not seen anything yet.
How many weeks after the announcement?
We're
Close to 4 weeks.
We're easily going on 4 weeks now.
Yes.
Yep. And this is the thing, that we can't talk about this anymore. That something needs to be done. The pictures that we are seeing, the testimonies that we're hearing, it is too grave a situation for us to talk at this issue any longer. People need to eat today or they will die. It's not a matter of, all right, maybe we can hang on a few more days. No, people need to eat and then get into a level of sustenance or they will die.
Yep.
Many more people will die. Turkana County, for example, 500,000 people today don't have 500,000. Just do the math in your head. These are people who could die if they do not eat and then eat for the next few days. We're not talking about maybe we can hold on for a week and then food will get to them. No. They're already in a vulnerable situation. They will die. And so then I have to ask the question. And today I think I'm solidly agreeing with what Mohammed from Wakijembe says all the time. On the morality of life, how high up the bar do we place these things? For us to be talking about how much an individual is worth and this, and then it grabs the headlines, do we really care about the real issue, keeping people alive? How important is that on the totem pole of priority? And there I agree with him 100%. That if your morality pricked you to the point whereby you realize that your people, mark you, not another country, Kenya, are dying. 4.5 million people could die. If that doesn't do something, I don't know what else ought to.
The president makes a national address, and the issue of hunger and the people who are dying just gets a passing conversation. I think a sentence.
Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. He focuses more on the fact that, some livestock got onto a ship at Lamu Port to go to the market. But how many more livestock are dying, and how can you salvage the livestock? This talk of livestock offtake has been there forever. The military with its Kenya Meat Commission and all have been told, go and offtake livestock. People's livestock are dying. Photos that we are seeing this morning are people's livestock dying. There's a photo here on page 8 of the Standard, where it says, an elder drags away a sheep's carcass in Modogashe, Garissa County. It's dead.
Wildlife also dying.
Wildlife dying in their huge numbers. And all you're talking about is
Yeah. And then for us not to be able to grasp that the ripple effects of this then are huge. Because think about it. You have people who are looking for food on a daily basis. There's so many other things then that do not come into existence at all.
Yeah.
Children going to school, that has been chucked out the window a long time ago.
Yeah.
People who are reporting for where are they reporting for duty? The very little that somebody could do. Somebody is burning the last firewood that he or she has to get a container of charcoal so that they may go and sell in order to buy food. Guess how much they get for it? 50 shillings.
I know, burning, when you see charcoal, you know what that means? We are cutting more and more trees.
Exactly.
Because that's the only thing that's left for people to earn a livelihood.
Ripple effects.
Cutting more and more trees. Driving, like I was telling you, driving towards Wote.
Yeah.
Very hilly parts of Machakos into Makueni County. And you can just see trees have been cut. So the moment it rains, all that topsoil is just going to be washed.
Ripple effects.
If anyone wanted to look at warning signs and telltale signs, look at the numbers of the people who attended the 20th, the ceremony at Uhuru Park. Just look at the numbers. The gallery where the citizenry is supposed to sit, there were individuals who had stockpiled seats and put their feet on it.
Yeah.
When people don't have time to attend functions, which they usually enjoy attending, does it not tell you that they don't have the means, the wherewithal to do so?
Yep.
They have other priorities, and that is not a priority.
Yep.
Or the focus.
Because that is a small venue, by the way. The numbers it carries isn't big. You're right, Ndu. When your value system puts morality at the very top of that list, as Mohammed from Makijembe says, then human value also tops it. Now, we are completely disregarding the value of human life here. Neglecting it completely.
Yeah.
As I said, how do you come from a function like the one we had on the 20th and people goes to a feast? How bizarre, how absurd. And these are the people who lead the country. You have people dying and you are feasting.
You're feasting.
And somebody,
spending 10 million or so.
Exactly.
Yes.
And somebody asked me, what did you expect? They take that money and feed the poor.
Yes, of course.
That's exactly what I expect. That following that function should have been a flagging off of food for the amount that you would have used to feed people who didn't need that food on that day. Flag it off to those people who need it.
Those whataboutisers? Why didn't they flag off, say, 100 of them?
Sure.
Yeah.
10 million shillings worth of water. That's a lot of water.
Come
A
on.
lot of water.
Come on. What are we talking about here? Do you expect that they should have done that? Yes, I do, 100%. I expect. Not when you have half the counties in the country are at risk of going under due to drought. 4.5 million. 10% of your population is going to die if they do not eat within the next few days. If that doesn't strike you, I don't know what will. I don't.
It's bizarre and it's annoying. It's annoying. So this should be our focus, and it should be the rallying call for all of us as Kenyans. We have our brothers and sisters who are actually facing starvation. They're at death's door. And this is what we should be talking about. It's huge. Learners cry for help as hunger pangs force learners to drop out of school. The price for basic goods has skyrocketed, and at times, this lady who's been featured in this story, Elizabeth Lemoyog, can only provide 1 meal a day for her children. 2 of her children dropped out of school a few months ago to work as herders, but their earnings are shrinking as the dry spell hurts pasture. The situation has become impossible, says Lemoyog, who lives in drought-ravaged Samburu County. Her husband left several years ago. Across the county, living conditions have deteriorated rapidly in the past 2 years due to prolonged drought. Lemoyong is among the 2.7 million Kenyans. This number keeps changing. Let's just call it 5 million Kenyans, all right? Data from the national government, state agencies, and non-governmental organizations indicates that the current drought has been the most severe and the longest, with widespread livelihood losses and massive displacement of populations. The government declared that more than 4.2 million people, representing 24% of ASOL population, are facing high levels of acute food insecurity, with some 2.7 million people in the crisis phase and close to 800,000 in the emergency state. These are very many people. The weatherman has already said that expect depressed rainfall in this short rain season that's coming up. From November to December, don't expect much rain. That's what he's saying. So the drought situation is going to continue. There'll be no pasture for the animals. There'll be no food that can grow for people to eat. The president of Kenya, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, declared this a national disaster over a year ago. How much has been raised? How much effort has been put into this? What is it that we're doing to address these issues? This is a point.
We have to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's for sure. But in the meantime, let's look at just another story that, folks have their, tongues wagging and eyebrows raised about.
Uh-huh.
The container of death tells the tale of an SSU torture. That's also on the front page. You might wonder what that's about. A bloodstained container said to have been holding a cell and torture chamber of the disbanded police squad is undergoing forensic analysis to establish who was held there. The container of death is at the heart of investigations into the disbanded DCI Special Services Unit. According to detectives who spoke on the condition of anonymity, victims were taken to the container for torture, and most were killed there after days of agony. The SSU team used torture to obtain any possible information before dumping bodies away from Nairobi or crime scenes. The container of death was delivered to the Nairobi Area Police Station in Milimani, Nairobi County. As the investigation tightened, the SSU team relocated the bloodstained container to the DCI headquarters on Kiambu Road. Forensic investigation is underway to learn more about the number of victims. This is a horror scene, according to a detective, a dark story scripted by those who were supposed to provide light. The investigators are now pursuing 3 cases following successful investigations that revealed the activities of the dreaded unit that has since been disbanded. The cases include that of the Indians and their taxi driver, John Obunde, apprehended in Kawangware, and the kidnapping of digital strategist Dennis Tumbi on the in December 2021. All the cases are linked to the SSU team. The 2 Indians, Zulfikar Ahmad Khan and his friend Mohammed Zaid Zami Kidwai, worked in the media in their home country after the acting Indian High Commissioner at the Indian Embassy in Kenya, Rohit Wadwana, yesterday told journalists that he was unable to comment on the matter. He said that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken it up and is in contact with President William Ruto, and he says that we have opened our investigations into the matter. So this container of death is supposed to then tell a lot more. In terms
so they
of
actually had a container where they would
keep people and torture them.
Arrest you, take you into that container, and torture you for days on end.
Until you gave up information if you did. If you didn't, or even if you did, according to this,
you die.
You die. Okay?
Once you get into the container, you die.
Yes. Because, I mean, far be it from them, according to this, allegedly, that you would give up any information and then be allowed to live thereafter.
Hey.
Okay?
And this is coming out now, meaning we didn't know about this previously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. This was kept hidden from the public eye for all this time.
And link it if you might. But also we saw that DCI officer who was in charge of communications also died in a motorcycle accident, leaving his home. That was yesterday. Boniface Muganda was riding his motorcycle home when he was hit from behind in the night incident near Ashaki's club. The motorist fled the scene of the hit-and-run accident, leaving fellow officers perplexed. So, like I said, link it if you might.
So guy is riding home at night, knocked from behind, left for dead, and he dies.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a graphics designer.
Yes, he was. He was behind the desk. So
one of those Twitter guys of DCI.
Yes.
Very, 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 very sad. Very sad.
So there's a lot of morbidity.
Very sad.
I mean,
Sidi, do you have the Business Daily?
I do.
Okay, what's on the headline?
China loans to Kenya fall for first time in 2 decades.
Fall.
Yes, fall.
Okay.
Loans given reduced. First time.
All right.
Chinese loans to Kenya have dropped for the first time in 15 years as Beijing adopts more cautious lending in Africa, where some nations have reached the limit of their borrowing capacity and prospects of default looms. Data from the Treasury show China's total lending dropped to, this is US dollars, in billions, 6.83 in June from 7.05 a year ago, and from 3 billion in 2016. Available public records show Chinese loans to Kenya dropped marginally in 2002. The rare fall in Chinese debt emerges in a period when World Bank and International Monetary Fund have stepped up lending to Kenya, firming the institution's grip on the, and I turn the page, country's economy. Okay? This story of who lends who and how it is lent and when it is lent, this is going to be with us for quite some time.
For a bit.
Yes, because we are talking about spheres of influence and who is seeking to influence the continent. IMF clearly realized that somewhere along the line they lost a little focus and the Chinese came in and filled that gap that they had left. They are now clearly trying to reclaim the position they previously held. Yes, and we see it in this country. Yes, but also more interestingly, remember we've talked about how Russia is in the process of creating a media hub here in Nairobi. The Cold War is back with us. Yes. And the same issues that we had when we were talking about China was in that picture. It was Russia and America mainly playing out this game. But now this thing has really heightened. For a country like Kenya, we have Britain coming in. You have the Bretton Woods institutions coming in. You have China. Okay, you have the US. And you have Russia. So a lot is at play. And specifically in Kenya because of the geographical position we have and the economic position we have. So this country, lots of activities, lots of attention.
Indeed. Let me take you to Kisumu.
Take us to Kisumu.
In Kisumu, there is a man. His name is Alvin Omulo. Alvin Omulo was an AP officer. He's 39 years old. Alvin Omulo has been in jail for 2 years. So this is what happened. Alvin Omulo has a cousin. This cousin is arrested in 2018 and charged with robbery with violence alongside another man. So when he was arrested, the family, of course, came together and they were like, okay, so these guys have set bail. So Alvin, where in your police, where you have some, can you be his surety? So Alvin goes to court and he becomes his surety, and the court accepts his bonds application. The cousin is released from custody and attends court from his home. After a while, however, the cousin vanished without a trace and has not been seen seen since. Omulo claimed that they received word that he had been arrested again. A search for him in police cells, however, was fruitless, even though his family remains hopeful that he will return. Omulo said his cousin told him that his life was in danger because he had information that would implicate some police officers. So according to court documents, the former police officer was summoned to appear in court on February 28, 2019, to explain why the suspect for whom he had acted as surety failed to appear. The court granted him time to look for the suspect. He was unable to locate the suspect. Omulo was sentenced to 6 months in prison for each of the 4 counts that his cousin was facing in court after failing to locate him. The sentence was to run consecutively. 6 times 4?
24.
24 divided by 12?
2.
2 years. After being sentenced, I did some research and I found out that the sentence was not to exceed 6 months. I therefore appealed. But due to COVID-19 pandemic, the appeal took time to be heard and determined, so I ended up serving the full sentence. He says efforts to locate his missing cousin in order to save him were futile because the family was unable to locate him. Now, he appealed again, and Justice Jacqueline Kamau declared that he was wrongly convicted. But despite this, he is not doing well. Because of this tribulation, he was fired from the police force. Because of these tribulations, he got into depression. He attempted suicide while in custody. They got to him in good time. But even after coming out, he is to date battling depression. All because he came to the aid of his cousin and entered himself as surety for the cousin. I've entered bond and I guarantee the court that this man will be coming. Man does not come. Court says, Where is man? Man, I don't know. Where? Inside.
Inside. For him.
For him.
Where is man today?
Man not known where he is. Man not been seen since.
You know, those are alarming bells, huh?
It's loud ones.
I mean, forget alarm bells. They're alarming because I'm reminded I have stood surety for people.
Yep.
And that's on your word, yes?
Yep.
Yeah. The surety is your word, isn't it?
If you are a government employee, as I was, then one of the things that you did, you went with your pay slip to show that whatever surety that they were asking for in cash, you can handle.
Yeah.
And recognizance, as they call it, and they'd say it is okay. We know where you work, we've seen you, we have your details, fine.
We shall release this person.
Yes, I was even called an upstanding citizen. Nice thing. It is okay. This guy, we can go. You carry on with your duties. Yes. We know. Fortunately, that relative didn't go anywhere. Now, you see, I was sitting here thinking, what if this guy had vanished?
Yep. It's you. And you go in. And the system doesn't know anything else. It knows you came here and you stood surety for this person.
I don't know. The court is merely following the lay-down procedure.
People had agreed that he'll be coming to court. Where is he? Go bring him.
Plus, you're a police officer.
Yeah.
Go find him.
You bring him. Why?
Right.
Why? So, are you a banker with Absa Bank or Cooperative Bank or the Diamond Trust Bank or KCB Bank or the Kenya Women Finance Microfinance Bank or NCBA Bank or Stanbic Bank? If you are in any of this and you'd like to get a home loan, please walk into those banks this morning. Okay? Tell them, nataka ile deal ya KMRC. They will give you a home loan for less than 10%, fixed for the entire duration of up to 25 years of a home loan. And this is one sure and easy and direct way of you becoming an owner of a home.
And all you have to do is go in and ask.
Yep. All you have to do is go and say, because these are the banks. This banks, 9 banks and 11 SACCOs will be telling you which SACCOs are members of our core shareholders of the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. This is a legally instituted entity regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya that refinances mortgage lenders. So if you want to own a home, this is the way. Rent yako, keja yako. Keep it here for more conversations. Coming up in the next hour, we talk to Dr. Miguna, who's back in the country. He'll be telling us what he's here to do, what he hopes to do, what he hopes to see for the country going forward. Good morning, it's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has declared 3 vacancies in the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission IEBC in a Gazette notice. President Ruto said the declaration was in accordance with Section 7A2 of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. The tenure of the IEBC chairperson of Ofula Chebukati and the 2 commissioners, Boyamolu and Abdi Gulie, is set to lapse on 17th of January 2023. According to the Electoral Boundaries Commission Act, the president is expected to appoint a selection panel consisting of 7 persons for purposes of appointment of the chairperson or member of the commission at least 6 months before the lapse of the term. Nasia Governor James Orengo has asked Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka not to abandon ODM leader Raila Odinga politically. Speaking at a church service attended by Kalonzo in Kisumu, Orengo emphasized that Kalonzo and Raila still have a chance to lead this nation.
I think the Lord has something good for us coming. Not coming tomorrow, but the signs can be seen today if we truly pray to the Lord. I want to say that Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka and Raila Odinga, if there's God's will, if there's really that God's will, you will rise up and lead this country to greater greatness.
Orengo's statement came at a time when President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua admitted to persuading Kalonzo to join and serve in government.
Mimi mwenyewe nimemtafuta huyo Stephen, nimeketi chini na yeye, nikamwambia ndio hii serikali tuende pamoja. Akaniambia kwanza anataka kujaribu ya upinzani. So wacha jaribu kidogo, alafu tutaona vile. Wacha jaribu ya upinzani kwanza tuone vile mahali itafika, alafu tunaweza kuongea tena baadaye. So there is no problem. Hata hii ya upinzani ni kazi pia.
Meanwhile, Kalonzo said is focused more on the appointment of new commissioners to replace chairperson of Ofula Chebukati and commissioners Boyamolu and Abdi Gulie, whose term of service are near completion. Kalonzo asked the governor to use the opportunity to remove the other 4 commissioners, Juliana Cherera, Irene Masid, Francis Wanderi, and Justice Abonyo.
We wonder why, because there are several expected by-elections, several. If some of these nominee cabinet secretaries will succeed in the endeavor, then clearly there will be by-elections. Ask yourself why Chebukati would have wanted to carry out, instead of waiting for these by-elections to come together. Why did he push for December 8th, just to make sure that he perhaps has some duty to perform, maybe to a friend, before he leaves office?
Hivi majuzi baba kirudi, we are going to announce our shadow cabinet, because we want to hold them to account, complete with their own budgets, which will be presented. I think one time Bill Okero, if you remember Jim, presented an opposition budget, because we must hold this country. We have only this country to call home. Hatuna mahali pa kwenda.
Now, the multi-agency operation to recover the missing firearm following a bandit attack in Turkana East, Turkana County, comes to an end today. This is according to TRD Sub-County Deputy Commissioner Jackson Orieny, who said 5 firearms have been recovered and authorities are zeroing in on the remaining firearm believed to be hidden in the Akkoret area in Tiati, Baringo County. Orieny was speaking during a meeting that brought together the county leadership, professionals, elders and religious leaders to discuss the bandit menace in the region. The leaders there called for action against bandits causing insecurity in Baringo and the North Rift region. The meeting resolved to support the government's multi-agency security operation in Turkana, West Pokot and Baringo counties, following an order by President William Ruto for security agencies to deal firmly and decisively with those involved in last month's banditry attack that claimed the lives of 8 police officers. Now, the National Assembly Committee has retreated to draft a report to be debated, considered and voted on in the National Assembly as required by the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011. After a rigorous vetting process of 24 nominees to the Cabinet, 22 as Cabinet Secretary, 1 as Prime Cabinet Secretary and 1 as Secretary to the Cabinet, the 15-member Committee on Appointments of the National Assembly concluded the exercise of the weekend. The last to appear was the Secretary to the Cabinet nominee, Masiwa Njau, with legislators now retreating to review the performance of the interviewees. My name is Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, so we're looking at traffic in different parts of the city this morning. That has built up at a few minutes after 7 o'clock. On the Thika Superhighway, where it was not before, it now is. And it's heavy bumper to bumper coming out towards the Pangani underpass. Same thing is happening on Kiambu Road today. In and outbound traffic, it is at bumper to bumper levels. We're looking at Ring Road Westlands, quite some traffic this morning as well. We're also looking at traffic that is coming out of Westlands, James Gishoro, pretty heavy, then getting into or crossing over to Wayaki Way. Coming off of Kingara Road, as well as Gitanga, Naivasha Road, Gong Road, that whole nexus, quite some traffic this morning as well. Jogo Road is also pretty busy. That started early. Looking at that whole industrial area quadrant, traffic is busy. Manyanja Road touching on Outer Ring, Juja Road doing the same, and Kangundo Road as well with some traffic. Today is going to be a busy Monday. Let's keep an eye on things and see how they open up through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving.
All right, 7 minutes after 7. Good morning and how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room, broadcasting on SpiceFM, on KTN Home. Online, we live stream the show every morning on YouTube and Facebook. Yes, we are here. And City has a proverb. But before City comes in with the proverb, Sunday is coming.
Sunday's coming. What is it that's normally coming? It's winter.
Winter is coming.
Right. It's normally winter that's coming.
Yes.
But it's Sunday that's coming. It's not going to be as cold. Nairobi skies are warming up for the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. It's taking place on the 30th. The first virtual run happened in Mombasa yesterday. And we're going to see two others happening on the 28th and 29th, respectively, in Kisumu and Kakamega. So if you signed up for the virtual run, that's 42K, 21K, and 10K. You can do that. Even start to post your times on the leaderboard. The physical run takes place on the 30th of October. Start warming things up, folks, because it's going to be one day that will be a great day to make life better for future makers in Kenya.
The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. Come on, watch City Muga.
Ambling along for 5 kilometers.
Yes. And doing very well.
Extremely well.
Sindio?
Kabisa.
Very, very well for yourself. Remind us the day's proverb. It's a Somali proverb.
Final one from Somali. A man prolonging his age sees a camel giving birth.
A man prolonging his age sees a camel giving birth. A man prolonging his age sees a camel giving birth. What's your City? Wewe kama wewe mtu binafsi? Personally, you.
Me, myself and I.
Yes. What is your interpretation of this?
If you live for a long time, you'll see many unusual things. Yes. It's not. That's really my simple interpretation for it. But if I were to give it...
The longer you live, the more you see.
Yes, but I would like to add a proviso to this. It isn't chronology necessarily that is at play here. No. It is how compactful your experiences are.
Yeah.
If you experience many things, or you allow yourself to experience many things,
yes,
or to enjoy the experience of many things, you will witness many other things.
You will witness a lot
of unusual things. Yes.
Makes sense.
If you immerse yourself into things as opposed to being a wallflower, as opposed to be an observer, you will experience many things, and alongside that, there'll be many unusual things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have been promoting an interview with Dr. Miguna, who is in the building. We're just sorting out one or two housekeeping issues. We've got to make sure that the house is kept. So one or two housekeeping issues, and then we'll tell you the nature of the conversation. In the meantime, back to those headlines and what's happening around the country, and whether we are all focused on what's important in Kenya at present. More than close to 5 million people. Well, the government figures go up to 4.7, 4.5, 4 point whatever. That was some time back by the Kenya Drought Management Authority. But let's just put it at about 5 million people are food insecure today. They cannot afford to put to the table 3 square meals a day. Many cannot do 2 square meals a day. Many cannot do 1 square meal a day. Close to 800,000 people, according to government statistics, are at a point of emergency. They have no food, no water, nothing. Nothing at all. Livestock dying. The photo in today's front page of the Standard. Poor rains blow to Ruto's food security plan. Look at that photo. And that is a photo of a cow, the carcass of a cow.
Yeah, done.
Dead. Caption: Carcasses in Modogasha, Garissa County. A photo by Dennis Ochieng. And you're looking at the ongoing drought situation. And this one, they've said, it's been 40 years since the country witnessed such devastating climatic conditions. Well, we've got to a point where people could not afford. Drought has gone on prolonged for many, many, many years. And the weatherman has already said, expect the same to continue. The state-backed weatherman has issued dire warnings that the prolonged dry spell that the country has been experiencing would persist, forecasting depressed rains over the season between October and December. Coming as agricultural economists and experts are warning this week, the fertilizer plan by the new administration, while well-meaning, would do little to boost food security due to its inherent weaknesses. Well, this is what the weatherman is saying. The short rains, that's October to November to December season, constitutes an important rainfall season in Kenya, particularly in the central and southeastern regions of the country. During the OND 2022, it's expected that most parts of the country will experience depressed, that's below average rainfall, that will be poorly distributed in both time and space. However, isolated incidences of storms that could cause flash floods are likely to occur, despite the expected depressed rains. So basically what we're saying is, especially those parts of southern Kenya, we're talking about all those counties going from Kilifi to Tana River to Lamu into Kambani, all these areas. And then the central parts of the country that expect some proper rainfall between November and December. Hampati.
No. This is the thing about this particular issue that we are dealing with today, is that in as much as there are 5 million people who need food today, this is not a today issue. Okay? 18 months ago, we did get the first warning. The first, no, actually it was not the first. Maybe it was a few in this whole warning system. This was the second to third alarm, or the second to third alert. A drought doesn't just rock upon you. You don't go to bed with lush green oases and then wake up tomorrow morning and then it is dry. It's going to start giving you indications. It's going to start sending warning signals your way. Water pools are going to start drying up. The rain is going to be intermittent. After some time, it is going to stop. But there are drought management authorities. There are early warning systems in place that tell you of these things. And the reason why they've been set up is to be able to warn governments in advance of time that this is what is happening with the climate, this is what is happening with the environment, and then you should then be able to do something about it. What does it ask you to do? It asks you to start damming water. It asks you to start looking at irrigation systems that you can put in place to make sure that even with the least amount of water, you can keep crop alive and you can keep livestock alive. This drought situation, whereby we've had perennial drought in certain parts of the country, has been there for decades. Let's just be honest if we want to be. That truth be told, the government of the day, the Dr. William Ruto government, cannot be blamed for the effects of the drought. Can they do something about it today? Absolutely. Can people be fed today? Yes, they can. Should maximum attention be given to that issue today and all these other things shelved for now to keep Kenyans alive? Absolutely.
By the way,
should things have been done in the past to mitigate this issue that has worsened by the day? 1,000% yes. Were the early warning systems in place? They were. We are looking at another issue of not implementing what has clearly been outlined as policy in terms of what you ought to do, knowing full well where Kenya sits geographically, knowing full well what will happen when there is not enough rain, or in some case, a complete cessation of rain. You know what will happen as a result of that. Has enough been done to make sure that even though the situation gets bad, that people can still remain alive without these emergency situations that we're dealing with today? This, again, is not even a lesson. It's stark reality that's hitting you in the face on a daily basis. As you see these pictures of livestock falling down, as you hear the story of the boy with his donkey who died as he went to get water for his family, as we see the pictures, as we see the live baby in a hospital in Kilifi who cannot breathe because they cannot eat, this is what we are talking about today. That should governments gone by have done something about the situation? 100% yes. Were we waiting for it to get so bad? Clearly, we were. The government of the day cannot be blamed for this situation. They can't. Can they be blamed if they don't do something about it today and feed people rapidly? Yes, they can. But should systems have been put in place to deal with this matter, we cannot run away from that reality.
Can something be done now? Should something be done now?
Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
Should something be done now? That's a conversation that we're having this morning. So just to update you, yes, the interview with Dr. Miguna, we've cancelled it because we wanted him to agree to some certain terms and rules of the interview, and he says, no, he's not going to do that. So for that reason, we will not be having the interview with Dr. Miguna this morning. We are a responsible station, a responsible show. We hold people to account, and it starts with before you enter the studio. So that's it. So let's move the accountability conversation to the people who are facing starvation across the country today, because there are very many people who basically just want to feel that their fellow Kenyans, their fellow citizens, especially those in leadership, understand their plight. City.
You know, I'm looking at B22 of the Star newspaper, and there are pockets of indications that there is some food distribution taking place. Okay? But just so that you understand it, we will talk about the numbers. Look at Tana River. The Commissioner Thomas Sankei says he received the region, Tana River, this is the county, received 2,000 bags of rice, 800 bags of beans, and were packaged in 50 kilogram bags. Now, 50 kilograms, if you divide it by 2,000, for instance, all right?
2,000 by 50?
Yes.
Okay.
40.
Precisely. Now, ask yourself, if there are 50 kilogram bags, how many people are you going to distribute this thing to? Just asking. Okay? Now, if you look at that every sub-county, he says, will receive 400 bags of rice and 106 of beans. Every sub-county will receive 400 bags of rice and 160 bags of beans. Each are 50 kilograms. Just, it is not that nothing is being done, But does this amount to something significant? That's the
Turkana
question.
has 500,000 people on the verge of starvation today. Turkana alone. It is one of the 23 counties that has this problem. So there's the answer to your question.
Well, I haven't. Can I continue?
Yes, I was just telling you.
And I like your response. Kwale has over 200,000 people facing starvation.
Voila.
Okay. Now they received 5,280 bags of relief food, and which contains 3,200 bags of rice, 1,280 of beans, 800 bags of cartons packed of meat, that is canned beef. All right. Now already, according to the administrator, this is a gentleman by the name of Gideon Oyagi. He says the 400 bags of rice, 160 of beans, sounds like a similar story to the other, to Tana River County, has been distributed to the Samburu residents. That's in Kwale County. Okay? Now, the story goes on.
So this is the county commissioner
telling us this
acknowledging that he has received this and that he has already started rolling out the distribution across the county.
Yes, and he's talked about the county. Now, sub-county of Samburu received that. 200,000 people facing starvation. 100,000 people facing starvation in Tana River. Now, this is the food that has been given. Not to downplay that it is some effort, but in all honesty, this amount of food for that number of people, how long will it last?
What's the plan going forward? You know, like, is there a sustained plan on this? So follow up, get this food, I think what we constantly lack from governments, and not just, this is not about the William Ruto administration, it's about governments, is that proper sustained plan on how you are going to make sure that people can receive the relief food and the relief supplies until the next rainfall comes. Whether you want the people to relocate and come somewhere closer where they'll all be fed easier. Whether you want to say, okay, you can stay wherever you are, this is what we are going to do to support you. We'll be bringing you water on a daily basis, on a regular basis. We'll be bringing you food, relief food on a regular basis. Because you can't give somebody a meal that's just going to last them for 4 days. And by the time the county commissioner receives the next, by the time they start subdividing, by the time they start now taking it to the people, it's going to be another gap of 2 weeks. So what happens in between? This is the kind of conversation that we want to be hearing from the government. This is the kind of update that we want to hear from Harambee House Annex, with the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua saying, so this is the plan, guys. This is it. We have X number of people in these counties, and this is how we're going to support them. This is how they'll get water. This is how they'll get food. This is how we're going to keep them active on a livelihood. So they stop cutting trees and burning charcoal, because that is degrading the environment even further. So they stop moving their livestock into other people's farms, because that is bringing in conflict. So that they stop just sitting there and wondering what's going to happen to them. So we have X number of children who are out of school. This is the plan to keep these children in school. This is what we expect to hear from Mr. Rigathi Gachagua speaking to us. He's been given that job. Let me open the job that the Deputy President has been given by the President.
Yeah, it's one of those 9,
Let me open it just now, just so that in case anyone has forgotten, including those ones who are in Harambee House Annex. Notification of not that one. Executive Order number 1 of 2022. Okay. Office of the Deputy President. Mandate of the office. Deputizing the President, chairing cabinet committees, overseeing implementation of cabinet decisions, coordinating intergovernmental relations between national and county governments, liaison with constitutional commissions, coordinating the planning and supervising implementation of development plans, overseeing public sector reforms, and any other functions. Roles, key roles. Chair principal secretaries committees and supervise the technical monitoring and evaluation of government policies, programs and projects, chairing and coordinating national government legislative agenda across ministries and state departments, in liaison with the ministry responsible for interior, overseeing implementation of national government policies, programs and projects. and coordination and supervision of government ministries and state departments. This is the office that should be calling in all those ministers today and saying, okay, so what are we doing to address hunger? This is the office that also has the job of dealing with donor agencies.
Yeah.
Okay? International donors and all. And because of that, he is the one who can be saying we have people. We have a national emergency. We have a national disaster. There are people who are hungry. How can you help us? Fundraising and mobilizing resources. This is it.
The story that the county commissions are talking about is how the country, the government, is partnering with World Food Program, Agriculture Organization, World Vision, Plan International, all these agencies. Now, that is what has always been done. And these agencies, even before, even when there isn't a drought, they keep us updated as to what happens. Now, the information they have, by the way, we generate the information. It's not them. We generate it, but they use it. Again, promises are being made. Against the backdrop of these promises are people dying. Against the backdrop, people's poverty indexes are doing a thing. People are getting poorer because whatever it is that constitutes their wealth is being decimated before their very eyes.
Yep.
Now, mitigating circumstances, situations, programs, and structures are not beyond us. This drought, we didn't wake up on Sunday morning and we had a drought. The drought has been with us. This problem has been there since last year.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. It has been increasing.
It's been 4 years of failed rainfall.
Precisely. Now, in these 4 years, what is it that this particular government inherited?
Now, this is what I'm talking about, early warning systems, because they're in place. There is a drought management authority.
Yep.
And in 2017, then in November going out towards 2018, they did a projection. And this is my thing. They did a projection of what the weather patterns would look like and what rain patterns would look like over the next 5 or so years, because they can tell. They can tell, and they said that rains would be intermittent at best. And they said that there was a large possibility of there being a failure of rains going well into 2022, 2023. For purpose of clarity, that is where we are currently. Is it not? It is.
Yep.
2022, 2023. They told us that this is what it was going to look like. And then there was an opportunity for you to start doing something about it. That the situation in which we are in today, look, because we are dealing with nature, you have very little control over it. But somehow, she tends to tell you what she's going to do. Somehow, you're able to read the pattern and see what she's going to do.
Yep.
And other countries, we've seen, we're not talking about something that has never been done on the planet Earth. Other countries, when they get these, they then know what to do. And then they apply best practices so that the people do not suffer. What is the problem with actually doing things ahead of time to make sure that the wanton suffering that we are seeing happening in the country today then doesn't happen? Are we capable?
What could have been done?
Are we capable?
What could have been done?
Dam your water. That's one thing.
So the first thing is, by the time the weatherman is saying the rains are going to fail,
there's water.
There's no rain. Okay? There's no rain at that point. Okay. By the time they're saying, so the forthcoming rain in the long rain season in March or the short rain season in December, we're going to have depressed rainfall. There's no rain. So even if you started building a dam at that point, by the time you finish,
actually,
but you see, this is they were not talking about the coming season. This report that they gave in 2018, 2019 was talking about 5 years ahead.
Yeah.
So were there water sources at that point that could have been then preserved? Possibly.
By the time you finish building a dam?
No, but what exists currently?
You know, the thinking is clear and it is good because even as we have a drought, we often have an oversupply of rain. Okay, we have deluge. Now, the question one would ask is, what is it that we do with that excess water? Do we just allow it all to wash either to Lake Victoria or to the Indian Ocean?
Yes.
That's number one. What plans have we ever had for harvesting water that is available for us. Again, what possible plans have we had in ensuring that there are food reserves, literal food reserves, so that even when you have a drought, it isn't as though you are running on empty.
So the regions that have a bumper harvest.
Yes. What do you do so that even areas that don't have those bumper harvests have food reserves? And these ones can last this length of time, even as we look at what to do. We know we have aquifers in this country. They've been identified by experts. What have we done? Because they would comprise part of what you're talking about in terms of strategic plans to ensure that you have reserves. They exist. We're not looking for the aquifers. They exist. What have we done?
It is within these same 5 years that farmers in Nyandarua County were throwing milk away by the hundreds of liters because it could not be. What did they tell us? What did they say?
There was a glut.
There was a glut. So they were throwing the milk away because there was no difference. Whether it is bought from you or whether you throw it away, you come up with the same thing. So what did they do? They dumped it. Now, is it so difficult? No, honestly speaking, with the likes of the agricultural organizations that exist in this country, would it have been so difficult? As an example, it may sound rudimentary in focus in the way in which we're speaking about it today, but would it have been so difficult to dehydrate milk and keep it in the barns? Would it have been so difficult to desiccate your maize and keep it where you have a bumper harvest? Would it have been so difficult?
Yes.
And the things that we're talking about, clearly it was difficult because it was not done.
No, the yes is he's agreeing with you.
I get what you're saying.
It should have been very difficult.
It would have been. That's the reason why it was
for a
not
lot
done.
of thinking, Ndu.
It's thinking and a little bit of action beyond your 8 to 5 and hanging your coat on the thing and disappearing. This is what we're talking about here.
And you start talking about, now let's collect all this milk, let's take it to KCC, let's turn it into milk powder, and then we keep it. And where?
Moral values. I'm telling you, it is that foresight that we are talking about here.
So let's reduce
realize that if we don't
post-harvest losses in those places, or where you're talking about.
You realize that if we do not do this, people will die. Then now you say, Omo, this too much work that we're talking about, let people die. That's what you're saying. It's too much work. We cannot think about it. We cannot apply these policies, which we've been sitting here coming up with anyway. So you know what you're saying. Let people die.
It's too much work. The job of government is not to think that far. But it's too much work.
What often happens, if you look at this pattern, from time immemorial, this period that we are speaking of is often preceded by a period of plenty. Odd as it may sound, that is what happened.
Yeah,
always.
Even in Egypt,
in the times of the Bible,
it required like a small boy to dream.
Joseph said,
now, no one has dreamt.
Look at you. They said
no
7
one has
years.
Dreamt.
What did they say? 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. In the years of plenty, what must you do? Collect and put it in your barns. What did they do? They had so much that they even sold to the neighboring lands. What's the difference?
Somebody slept in a hole
and
dreamt. Okay? Somebody went, those Egyptians, were they thinking that way?
No, they were not.
No. Was a pharaoh thinking that way? Was a pharaoh that his advisors thinking that way? No.
You needed somebody from outside to come and tell you, okay, they told you now. People from outside told you. What are these people called? FAO. They told you. They did a whole blinking report and told you the geographical area upon which Kenya sits. This is what it looks like. This is what you ought to do. They are the Joseph. The Joseph told you. The Joseph has been telling you for 40 years. Joseph has been telling you, what have you done about it?
Our Pharaoh was otherwise occupied.
You know the story.
So the thing is, you would rather say, rather than for me to think a little bit, let people die.
You know
the moral value of life is in the dustbin.
Let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Once again, just updating you. Yes, the interview that we've been promoting with Dr. Miguna is not going to happen because we have not agreed on a couple of house rules with Dr. Miguna on how to conduct this particular interview. And because we are the Kenya's biggest conversation, there's a way we do our conversations. And we play by our rules. So it's not going to happen. The room, though, is a place that you can go and get the best tech talent. People who've been vetted, people who are willing to play by your rules when you employ them, people who are willing to come in with their expertise and deploy their expertise to your organization. Go to theroom.com for more details, 26 to 8.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We know it is cold, but Cold Stone Creamery has hot deals for you. This month, enjoy cups of rich and creamy ice cream, delicious ice cream cakes, and fresh oven-baked cakes at amazing prices. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge in your favorite treats. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, so a few minutes after 7:30, and we're looking at it, built up quite some in the city this morning on the Thika Superhighway, already doing that thing, and it's coming in heavy into the CBD. North Airport Road going out towards Outer Ring is also quite crazy. We're looking at Mombasa Road, some traffic here and there. As you're getting on to Imar Daima at that drift, it's busy. In industrial area, busy as well. Jogo Road going out towards Landis, and then towards Kamkunji at the roundabout is also pretty busy. We're looking at Kiambu Road, back-to-back, bumper-to-bumper action. It's doing the same thing then coming off Limuru Road. Coming out of Westlands as well, quite some traffic. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there and let's keep things moving this morning. All right, there's a bit of a drizzle in some parts of Nairobi. The sun will be coming out, though, later. Highs of 28 and lows of 17. Mostly sunny conditions at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 27 and lows of 12. And we'll see highs of 27 in a partly sunny Nyeri at 15. It's 15 and mostly sunny in Eldoret, highs of 26 and lows of 13. 24 and raining in Mombasa, some parts at least, highs of 30 and lows of 24. Mostly cloudy conditions at 25 in Malindi, highs of 30 and lows of 24. And Kisumu is mostly sunny at the moment, highs of 31 and lows of 19. We're looking at mostly sunny conditions at 20 in Kakamega, highs of 30 and lows of 15. Looking out into Kampala, sunny conditions at 21, highs of 29, highs of 30 in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 25, and it's 15 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 30 and lows of 13. Light rain continues in Lagos at 25. It'll go to highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 20, or rather highs of 31 in a rainy Kinshasa at 24.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Nation continues. This is a situation room, and we want to hear from you as well. 0719-012-600. 0719-012-600. Should the president and the government drop everything else and first of all focus on feeding the people who are starving across the country? That's a question we're asking you. The headlines in the papers this morning have that, this very, very sad story, and the photo in the front page of the Standard today. This is the carcass of a cow in Modogashe in Garissa County. And this is just one. There's another one on page,
you have the Nation?
Page 8. You show us the Nation. This is on page 8 of the Standard again. Carcass of sheep in Modogashe as well. Very many people die. So, City, you can show to the camera the photo on the front page.
Well, I'm looking at the photo of this child. They say hunger throws in Turkana.
Yeah.
There's a picture of a child.
Uh-huh.
Okay, in Turkana. There are more gory pictures if you turn to page 10. The point is, the media is highlighting the problems, but the truth of the matter is they don't get to the heart of it as they could, because pictures speak volumes. But this isn't something that you are going to say is in one area. By the time 4.5 million going to 5 million people are facing starvation, my friend, these are very many people. Now, unfortunately, with these problems, the people who bear the brunt of it are children, because many can't fend for themselves. They have to wait for food to be brought to them. So if the food isn't there, the stories of hunger and the stories of food supply in this country are as old as our independence. Why it is that there is no government that this country has had that has come up, not with a comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plans exist, but enacting these plans so that when we talk of hunger, we are talking about which reserves we are using for what problem. Every time we've come up with a plan where we want to grow what it is that we have in terms of stockpiling of food reserves, something goes horribly wrong with the plan.
Yep.
Galana Kulalu not being one of the only problem, but something just goes wrong, and everything and anything that could have gone right with that particular plan goes awry. If this government wants to build on the failures of the previous government or the previous government, this issue of the people of this country going hungry has to be addressed. Not by dishing out food aid when there's hunger, no, but having a structured plan that deals with drought. Because the hunger is a consequence of the drought.
Yep.
The lack of food is a consequence of poor implementation, not planning. These are things that are within the means of any government to look into and to resolve.
Yeah. It's a good thing that the president, for example, has said we have to go into a robust reforestation program. We need to plant trees. And for that, I want to see more forest officers hired. Okay, good thing. We are going to do 100 dams across the country, major dams across the country. Good. On paper. Okay. We are going to increase the amount of land under irrigation so we don't depend on rain-fed agriculture for long. So we increase the number of the acreage under irrigation. Good. Okay. We hope to see that this government will actually implement those things. You know? First thing, let's hear what KEFRI is doing to distribute tree seedlings to various parts of the country, even with those short rains that are coming. All right? The next, so what is the government's plan on these 100 dams? Where are they? How much? Which one do you want to start with? By what time? By what year are we going to have the dams? All right. Okay, those are medium to long term. In the immediate, there are people who are hungry and they cannot continue to receive lip service from their government that, you know what, we are flagging off food to leave Nairobi so that it can go to parts of the country that are facing starvation. We can't continue doing that. It has got to be the same way the president has said, I want to be hands-on on a couple of things. I want to be hands-on on fertilizer. I want to be hands-on on this. Start by being hands-on on this particular issue, Mr. President. This is it. Say today, I want to be hands-on on how many Kenyans are sleeping hungry today. And I want to reduce that completely. In 10 days' time, no Kenyan will be sleeping hungry. I want to make sure that they are receiving food. I want to make sure that I'm having a conversation with all Kenyans. How can we raise food to feed our people? How can we rededicate our budgets so that then we can have a budget that goes to feed our people? How can we call the governors and say, governors, yes, this is what you have. How can we all agree that we can put development on hold, feed people? I've seen the governor of Marsabit saying, I'm going to put development on hold. I've got to rededicate this budget and take it to the people. It is not allowed by the Public Finance Management Act. He has got to go a different way. But yes, these are conversations that we need to be having. The National Assembly should tomorrow dedicate time to say this is what we expect to see coming from the executive so that we can pass it so that people can have food.
Eric,
Mr. President, this is a time to address hunger in this country.
10% of the population don't know how to feed themselves. My friend, it's a state of emergency. It can't be business as usual. We have had situations in this country where development projects were put on hold. In the Kibaki government, that's what they did. They said, just so that we get our ducks in a row and we understand what's going on, we are not expending any finances on development. Stop. Everything, just cease. Let's take stock and then move forward. It can't be business as usual.
It can't. And that's the thing. You have to ask yourself, look, the action that somebody takes that would take you, and you're asking the question, should all of this stop so that people should be fed? I mean, it goes without saying. It goes without saying that people need to be taken care of as a very right. Even let's put rights aside.
It is a right. No. It is a fundamental right.
Absolutely. So let's even say that you're going to put the rights aside and say, for value alone of human life, to see that, to look at these pictures and it doesn't prick you, to say these are the ones that you've actually been able to see the pictures of. What about those who never made it to broad daylight? What about those for whose images were never captured? And it's for those people that I bleed today, that I have to ask the question and say, those who did not make it to the limelight, to then be, for the spotlight to be on them, to say what happened? How did they suffer and die? How many days did they go without food? For somebody to boil something that otherwise is poisonous for 7 hours, to remove the poison from that food, for that thing to take on some kind of semblance of nutrition that you then put in your mouth so that you can mimic the act of eating.
Do have we forgotten people boiling stones?
People boiled stones so that the children who were watching these stones being boiled could think in their heads that, okay, we have drank something that was cooked. How much worse does it need to get? And then we sit here and say, other things need attention. How many more people need to die?
It's very sad.
This thing has gotten your goat, hasn't it?
Let's go to the phone line, 0719012600. Simon in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today, Simon?
Not very okay.
All right.
Simply because I come from one of the counties that on the north of it we have this hunger issue. But when I was growing up, there's an old man who told me, if there's a crisis, you face it head on. And the current crisis for hunger would be attributed to everyone. We are the reason why there is hunger. Everyone.
Yeah.
And I'll start with number one, the leadership. We have a ministry for East Africa, for ourselves, the department for ourselves. That means their main concentration would have been to find out what is the main reason as to why Pokot, Turkana, the northern Kenya is not able to do a bit of farming or a bit of livestock that can be exchanged for money and indirectly for food. And where does that lead us? Another ministry, internal security. Because the biggest problem we have is conflict that makes people not do any kind of farming, that leads us to hunger. And it's a cycle we've had from Kibaki era to Uhuru era to Ruto era, where we flag off trucks. Then come January, media will be telling us that there is categorizing or raging, so people are not able to farm. Then so we bring us our biggest second problem. What do we do about these constant issues that make us not comfortable to do farming? Then constantly we keep saying we need to fill these areas. Now sadly, a lot of this food we are looking for to fill those areas, we have to also import. Because again, we also don't do as farming as we used to. So what will happen in the earlier days is that you will bring cattle, sell in the market, go back to your areas with beans and maize. Now that maize is not there, that beans is not there. So we'll constantly have this problem. And the biggest problem that we need to ask ourselves is there a way we can have these laws that when we give an empty CDF for Turkana, that he can expressly be told, invest this money in agribusiness, invest this money in health, invest this money in activities that will generate food for your community. Because every MP has 100+ million. But we are still flagging off trucks heading there. Is there a possibility that we can also even freeze aid or constituency funds to those areas and concentrate on giving them the money to do farming or to make those areas, for lack of a better word, to be farmable?
Yeah,
because
Simon, I hear you.
Those areas, they have that money.
I hear you. The dicey beat with that is that CDF is actually locked to two things. There are national government functions. So education and security. That's why they build schools.
But agriculture is a national function.
It's devolved.
Right? It's devolved.
Yes.
My question is, are we so stuck that we cannot, because I was told even CDF cannot buy medicines for your dispensary.
Yep, it can't.
So is it possible then that we do a bit of, because these laws are made by the same politicians.
Yep.
So why can't they look at those areas and ask themselves, if it's Laikipia North, where I border in Laikipia West, can we have 40 million being put in those areas? And even if it's creating another budget for that, because the honest truth, Bonalati is, we will not feed our country by flagging off tracks. When you say you have given 400 sacks of maize to a constituency, that can only feed at most 5,000 people. What happens to the rest?
That's true. We hear your frustration, Simon. We hear you. Thank you very much. Robert in Nandi.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
How are you?
My colleagues, how are you?
Good morning.
We're very well, thank you, sir. And how are you?
Sorry.
I'm good. And I was waiting for Miguno, but you guys have cancelled it. But I understand. I do understand.
Good.
There are rules everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on this thing of food, I think the priority here is let's feed our people first. Because at the end of the day, even the ones that we are planning for, if they are hungry, there's nothing you can plant.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for that maybe the revival of such irrigation schemes of Kulana Kulalu, the subsidies of fertilizers, because like in Nandi now, the next seasons of planting comes in January, I think from March up.
Yeah.
But then we are talking of providing that fertilizer in March. What do people eat between now and March?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's need to maybe, they always say if you are not ready to change your mind, you may be a fool.
Yeah.
There's need for this government to change its mind in terms of looking at production and fast feeding its people.
Focus on the now.
Now. Hakuna unapangia mtu maiti. How? Atakula nini?
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I think that is my... Thank you.
Asante. 0719-012-600. Should the government focus or rededicate its focus and attention right now to feeding the people who are starving?
Gadara has made a comment this morning and said, we must not forget that the government of Kenya chose to build the Nairobi Expressway rather than ready 5 million people for drought and hunger. It chose to beautify Uhuru Park as people starved. And look, I have to be in some kind of agreement with that in terms of where was the priority.
You look at the priorities.
In terms of where was the priority. And this is what I'm saying. Could people have been made ready? Absolutely. They could have.
You know, to believe what Gadara is saying is to suggest that the money that was used to beautify the park is the money that was supposed to feed the people. Are you saying that the budget for agriculture was moved to the budget for God knows what to do, God knows what? No.
The budget for agriculture could have been boosted.
Yes.
Precisely.
Exactly.
The government for agriculture, before we even boost it, was it actually used for what it was supposed to?
To be useful.
I'm simply saying money is allocated to the relevant departments and ministries to do the job they don't. And these deeds are not done. Okay? So we look at successful projects and say, the ones who took the money. No. Unless you're telling me that project was not budgeted for. Then we have an issue because clearly money was taken from some other project.
You know what, City?
Yes.
This drought was not adequately budgeted for. If you look at the budget that is in effect right now and the amount of money that was allocated to address the drought, it's a pittance. Looking at the number of people projected to be in a severe situation by now, looking at the number of people who are expected to be in a severe situation by the end of this financial year, the amount of money that Ukuri Atani went and took to Parliament to say, give me this budget for food, it's not enough.
You know, Eric, my problem with this same issue, the same issue we have with the insufficiency of the money that's given to the counties.
Yeah.
Before one has a clear account of what is done with the money that is given, I am really never clear whether that money was enough or it wasn't enough. Because it just seems to be given and it goes and it's not enough. Okay, so fine. This not enough. What did the not enough do? What was it intended to do and what did it do and what remained? The story is never told. It's a blanket statement of it was not enough.
There was not enough money.
So I don't know. At what point is it enough?
Hear you. Enough is enough. Anthony in Kisumu.
Good morning, Eric, City and Ndu.
Good morning.
That refocus could have been done last year but one.
Yes.
However, we're not too late. we recently vetted a minister for agriculture. His main task should be to request, if they don't have it now, a supplementary budget to help in that, because the mitigations the government is having currently, I think, just a bandage on a wound. It won't heal the wound.
Yep.
And the drought thing and the famine thing has been perennial. Sometime back, we even had our core Kenya, say that thing for Red Cross and Safaricom.
Yeah.
And we could have learned from them. But it's not too late. We have a new government, which will have a new Minister for Agriculture. I hear you told the caller before that agriculture is not devolved.
It is devolved.
It is just like health.
Yep.
At the national level, there's somebody who runs the function of agriculture in the executive.
Yep.
And the nominee, once appointed, should just focus on not even fertilizer, because the immediate thing is we need a long-term solution for part of Kenya. Geographically, if you look at the map of Kenya, it's half of Kenya.
Yep.
Starving.
Yep. Yes.
And that cannot just be let go. It should be focused on at the national level, because it traverses several counties.
That's true.
And it needs to be coordinated from somewhere where resources should be pumped. And if need be, something like Galana Kulalu should be done at a greater level. We have one of the longest lakes, rivers in Africa, River Nile, and its source is in Kenya. And I'm told somewhere in 1990-something, there was some treaty that we cannot irrigate with it. We should just go to Africa or wherever that treaty was put and quash it and sustain our people with sustainable agriculture. If the climate change condition in Kenya currently, the rain is not reliable, we can't rely on rain-fed agriculture, then we should do irrigation.
We hear you, Anthony.
Do one along the Tana River, do along Sabaki, do along River Nile, do along Lake Victoria. And even if it's Egypt or that other country up there that gave us that treaty not to irrigate with the Lake Victoria, we'll look for their way.
Thank you, Anthony. Let's hear from Daniel in Meru. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are
you? Good morning, Eric and CT and Ndu.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I just want to throw a cut amongst these pigeons that you guys are talking about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because there's a discussion you're just touching on and just skimming over. When you're talking about drought, and Ndu has just said, there's been a report since 2018. Sometimes, maybe this drought situation is deliberate. Maybe someone wants it to happen. Because if you think about it, when you're talking about a shortfall of rainfall, there are areas in this country that do not know what you're talking about. There are places that are raining, even right now.
Yeah.
And there's an area we consider the breadbasket of Kenya.
Yeah.
And possibly by the end of this year or around this time, they expect to harvest. And they're going to get a very bumper harvest because they've had very good rains. I think the problem we have in the country right now is not really about how to manage the drought situation in the country. It's about food preservation. Because very soon we're going to have plenty of food in the country. But we are not going to store this food. And we're going to have this cyclic conversation about there being drought, there being scarcity of food, there being areas in this country that cannot feed themselves. By now, we probably know that there's an area of the country that can sufficiently feed us. And we know there are areas in this country that cannot produce even if it rained for months and months because the soils are not good or probably the culture in that place is not farming. So I think we should change the conversation a bit from building dams, planting trees, and maybe just constructed, silos and huge grain storage facilities or food storage facilities.
Okay.
I'll give you a case in point.
That's all right.
Last month,
Daniel, running out of time.
We were buying.
Daniel,
Sorry, just very quickly. Last month we were buying tomatoes at 10 bob for one tomato. This month, we're buying 4 tomatoes at the same 10 bob. Nothing has changed. So we need to know how to store food in the country. That will be our solution.
Thank you. Conversations will continue into the next hour. Next hour, we want to host the chairperson of the Kenya Daima Steering Committee to talk about lessons on peace, leadership and accountability after the elections. Remember, if you'd like to stop paying rent and start your journey towards owning your own home, go to your SACCO or your bank today and tell them, I'd like that deal by KMRC, the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company, which is able to refinance your lender to give you a home loan for below 10% interest rates and for as long as 25 years. An easier way of owning a home. We'll tell you which SACCOs. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Kabuchai Member of Parliament Majimba Kalasinga has urged United Democratic Alliance Party leader President William Ruto not to field a candidate in the upcoming senatorial by-elections in Bungoma County. Speaking in Kabuchai after meeting Ford Kenya officials, Majimba said the party had endorsed David Wafula Wakoli to contest for the seat that was left vacant after Moses Wetangula was elected as National Assembly Speaker. The MP said those fronting former Bumula MP Mombo Mabonga as UDA party candidate for the senatorial seat a broker Zua after his money. The leader's president called on the residents of Bungoma County to vote for Wakoli as a youthful and energized leader. The Bungoma senatorial seat fell vacant after Wetangula, who was under Ford Kenya ticket, was elected National Assembly Speaker. Now, as the CBC work group continues to gather opinions, NAT Secretary General Collins Oyu has urged the government to speed up the process of providing effective training to teachers across the country before full implementation of CBC. Speaking in Nyeri County, Oyu said the government must properly prepare teachers to ensure the effectiveness of the curriculum.
Our interest as Kenya National Union of Teachers is that CBC should be addressed to accommodate teachers in this republic. At the implementation of CBC, we cried out and said, fine, we are conducting a fully fledged research. We came up with a research document which addressed teacher preparedness in the implementation of CBC. But are you mindful of the passengers in the train? We didn't receive any answers. The answers are there now because teachers are not prepared. They actually have minimal training on CBC.
Now, former Narok North MP Moitalela Olekenta has praised President William Ruto for announcing an immediate recruitment of an additional 2,700 foreign forest rangers as 600 forest officers to protect the forest in the country. Kenta said the additional officials will help protect mega water catchment areas like the Masai Mau forest from any form of distraction.
And I think the most important thing is that I've seen that the president is now saying that he's going to protect the water tower and that people should be employed. The incoming minister is also saying the same. I know the Mau, part of the Masai Mau forest has been fenced, but the fence have been vandalized. But I'm happy that the forest people or the forest rangers have been able to repel these people who are trying to get in by force after the elections. And I just hope that the current president will keep his word and ensure that the Masai Mau and other forests are fenced to save this country from vagaries of nature. We are seeing the kind of drought that is dominating our livestock, killing people, and just because of destruction of the Masai Mau and other forests.
He reiterated that the people of Narok were happy with the Environment and Land Court judgment that ordered for the maximum protection of the forest by the Kenya Forest Services. Now, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is mourning the death of its lead creative designer, Boniface Muganda. Muganda was killed in a hit-and-run accident along the northern bypass at Marurui near Ashaki Club, Nairobi County. The officer, who was attached to the Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Unit, was riding on his motorcycle when he was hit by an unknown motorist. He was pronounced dead on arrival at the Kenyatta University Referral Hospital. The DCI mourned the late Muganda is a hard-working, self-driven and dedicated officer who performed his duties outstandingly and got along well with colleagues from across all cadres. We send our thoughts and condolences to the family and friends. Now, the Kenya Tissue and Transplant Authority has registered an increase in 50 new blood banks to the current 45 up to 30 in the previous years. KTTA Nairobi Regional Manager Festus Koech said that the improvement is supported by 6 functional regional blood testing centers that are present in the Lake Region, Central Rift, North Rift, Nairobi and Eastern, Mount Kenya and Coast regions, and other functional cold rooms in Nairobi, Nakuru, Kisii, Eldoret, Kisumu and Embu. He was addressing the press at Kencom, Nairobi, as KTTA held a week-long blood donation campaign to commemorate the weekend. He explained that the 5-day campaign that kicked off on the 17th was dubbed I Am a Shujaa. So many Kenyans donate bloods for those in need. Now, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has commended President William Ruto for his critical role in regional peace and security in Ethiopia as well as the Horn of Africa. Blinken also talked to South Africa Foreign Minister on how to make Ethiopia peace talks successful. The conflict in Africa's second most populous nation pits the federal government against regional forces led by a party that used to dominate national politics. I'm Dennis Asseto. Good morning.
All right, still looking at it, heavy coming off a Thika Superhighway this morning. Coming into the city, it's going to be this way for some time from all we can see. It's ebbing and flowing on Kiambu Road, so we're not quite sure what's going on with that. But, you know, once it's not there, take advantage of the opportunity getting into the city. Limuru Road, pretty busy as well. We're seeing that well into the belly of Gigiri. Coming off Red Hill Link Road, which, interesting enough, connects from Waiyaki Way. That's busy. It's also really busy coming off around Ruaka Road, and then also from Kitisuru. The Northern Bypass will take off some of that. You know, come right around and connect with the Thika Superhighway. So Monday morning traffic is quite a thing this morning. It's heavy coming off Gong Road and then touching on Naivasha Road and into that whole Lavington area and then out into the city. So we're looking at traffic hour proper where we are right now. Keep your wits about. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving this morning.
It's 7 minutes after 8 into the third hour of the Situation Room this morning, still live on SpiceFM and KT's Home and on YouTube and Facebook. Welcome if you're just joining us. We are glad that you're tuned in. CT has the day's proverb, and then we welcome our guest for the hour. Just to remind you that we will be running soon. So, CT, the proverb, we are still in Somalia.
Finally, this is a final proverb from Somalia. This particular proverb tickled me somewhat, and I felt I should actually simply present it.
Yeah.
A man prolonging his age sees a camel giving birth.
A man prolonging his age sees a camel giving birth.
Live long. See strange things. See unusual things.
Kuishi kwingi.
Yes.
Kuona mengi.
Precisely. And here, it's not just chronological. It's experience. If you're someone who immerses themselves into activities and things, you will experience things that others who don't never do. Some of it will be blasé, normal, but others will be unusual.
Industrialist Vimal Shah is the chairperson of the Kenya Daima Initiative Steering Committee. He joins us now in the Situation Room. Welcome, Vimal.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eric.
That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. How does it feel?
Good. It's pretty hot.
Comfortable? Familiarize yourself with the surroundings.
Thank you. Really nice. Spicy
The warming
too.
hasn't even started. And he's already claiming it's hot.
Trying to run ahead of us.
Yes.
Vimal, when you hear this proverb from Somalia, what's your interpretation of it? What we heard is CT's version.
Well, I think it probably, in my mind, seems like it's patience, right? Not being, hasty, and things will happen. It is not up to us to make it happen. It will happen. I think that's what I heard from the proverb.
Take time, observe, and you will see the camel giving birth.
We all evolve, right?
Right.
So evolution.
Right. Good perspective. Good perspective. So the Kenya Daima Initiative is one that is multi-sectoral. We have had conversations about Kenya Daima before the election and what was expected of all of us as citizens who came together as Kenya Daima Initiative, the various interest groups from business community to civil society to religious sector to just ordinary citizens just coming together and saying, this is what we'd like to see our country doing. And this is not, it didn't begin this year. I mean, it began after the post-election violence of 2008, and then into 2012, we've solidified it. You've been pushing for something, which is peaceful elections, and then talking about post-election, how we should act as Kenyans. When we were having conversations before the elections, we said, you know what, this Kenya Daima Initiative, if we just talk about voting, and then we don't talk about what we do after voting, then we may have missed the mark. Which we were told, actually, that's the whole point, that we should not drop the ball after voting. Is that still the case?
I think that's still the case, Eric. Especially when we talk about inspiring peaceful elections. That's just one thing. But for what? I think the question is for what? For a prosperous economy, and I think for people to thrive in a situation where you've got enabling environment, you've got people with credibility who are running the show, and of course every single person start activating things wherever they are. And we talked about three areas. One is the political, the social, and the economic pillar. And I think these are the three key pillars that we talk about at Kenya Daima. And this time it was more about the political pillar, was more about influencing the choice of leaders at the ballot. And I think inspiring Kenyans to vote for good, accountable, transparent leadership, and therefore looking at the Chapter 6 of our Constitution of Kenya, making sure that we've got the professional experience there. Again, working with the electoral bodies, the management bodies who are managing the elections. A crucial part there was to say, alongside them, let's make sure that their institutions are strong enough to ensure that we get a credible election going out. So that was a political pillar. And then, of course, the social pillar was more to make sure that you influence a peaceful election and a smooth transition. Communicating positive gains, I think that was important. A lot of us forget to celebrate who we are, celebrate what we've got as Kenya. This freedom itself here, SpiceFM, I'm just talking about this freedom to be able to express yourselves, express ourselves, and, say it as it is. I think that's so valuable. I mean, go out in other African countries and see where it's not available, and then you'll really value it. So that was one thing, I think, the social pillar. Also positively changing the political, economic, and social narrative around elections, because every 5 years we have elections, and we all say every fourth year you sort of stop and say, hang on, we've got elections, so you stop for a year, and then you go on and say, after elections, let's see for a year, and we lose a period of 2-3 years in our cycle, and that's cyclical. And I think this was why Kenya Daima was born, to say, let's make sure that at least there's smoothness in this, and the transitions happen quite well. The third thing was economic pillar. The economic pillar was to ensure that we actually influence the manifestos. And all the manifestos, of course, them launching them, we had actually given all the inputs in terms of what we'd like to see, what Kenyans would like to see, and really driving and maintaining that people-centered, also economy-led transformation. I think this was adopted by most of the manifestos, so that quite helped in a way. And I think also pushing for seriously technology adoption everywhere now, in the progress of what we do now. In all spheres of Kenya. I think that was quite crucial. So the economic pillar was the third thing. So I think that was where we focused on, and these three pillars were quite crucial.
Looking at, how crucial they were and what the push was, how do you think then that things fared thereafter? I mean, there was the push, and we've seen us go through these processes that you speak of, the election, the transition, the voting, that asking Kenyans to make a decision based on a good leader, an intellectual leader, a focused leader, and then hoping that there would be a peaceful transition, and then again hoping that other things would happen. Do you see that this push resulted in the situation that you were after?
I think it did. I think if you look at the manifestos that were brought out by all the parties, you could see that very clearly that it was all issue-based on the manifestos. It was all key transformation of economy. It was about jobs. It was about creating more gainful employment for everyone. And I think that's quite crucial. But at the same time, I think this is where you influence the discussion. So you've got it said in the manifestos. So that's something that people have committed to, and they keep it up. The second thing, I think, is about the pillar on accountable leadership coming into power, and also a smooth transition. I think all that happened. Frankly, I would say, I would say hats off to all Kenyans all over for really maintaining the peace and doing it peacefully. Even pre-elections, if you saw the way the campaigns were all sort of rolled out. At the same time, when you saw the election period, was quite peaceful. Thereafter, despite, let's face one thing, this was historic, right? We had 16,000 and something numbers, 16,098, I think, candidates standing for how many vacancies? 1882 vacancies.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, there was bound to be above 14,000 people who were not going to make it, right? Now, in that, you would have, that's 90%, right?
Yep.
90% of the people would be not disgruntled, but would not be happy with the results to say, hey, I lost. And that's not a good thing for any candidate. But that happened. So that space was allowed. So I think that pre and post just elections, I think this has happened. The key question now is what you asked right now is going forward. I think it's too early to tell right now. But what we see is very clearly it's playing out. People are now asking for accountability. They're asking for whatever you promised us. Can you start living up to it? And I think that's where the people who are now being brought into power, whether it's at MCA level or at governor level or women's rep or even at MP and senators and presidency, I think they're all striving to say, whatever I promised, I've got to live up to it and let me go and deliver. And that's the work in process right now.
There's sometimes I have this debate with myself, and it's an ongoing debate, and I can never really conclude. The debate is about the moral and ethical standards that we set for our leaders. Is it that we expect too little so that whenever anything happens, which isn't untoward, we are quick to jump on it and say this is very good? Or are we so damaged that anything that even there's a whiff of goodness, we are likely to lean towards it and shout hallelujah from the rooftops and say this is a wonderful thing? Or are we just simply tired and we simply just want certain things to end so that we can get on with our lives? Because it's like one government after another. The thing that stands out, and this you've got it spot on, it isn't so much the leaders, it's the citizens. The citizens seem to hold a higher standard for themselves than the leaders do. The citizens expect certain things, and then the leaders drag us down. Every time you think we've gotten this thing right and the citizens play their part, they go through the election peacefully, they do this. The leaders come in and they muddy the waters completely. Now, my debate. This is the question I keep asking myself. How long will this last? Because it seems to work when you don't have a serious crisis like the one we have now of drought. People can sort of like get on by and get along. But when there's a serious problem, then people start asking very serious questions and they start taking serious positions. I have never seen a situation like this one where a government is barely a month into office and people are already asking for accountability. And the voices are getting louder and louder and louder.
Are you seeing that as a bad thing or a good thing, CT?
Oh, I'm seeing this as a very good thing. You see, my debate is, again, that was part 1A. Part 1B, what is it about the leadership structure of this country that when people get into leadership, they suddenly become disabled? They don't seem to hear well. They don't seem to feel well. They don't seem to have any moral standards. And that's what they were preaching throughout their campaign. It's something that really bothers me. It does. And it's with the political leadership structure. You see it every time. This government comes in, you have hope. Then it's like your hopes are just dashed. You just sit back. It's like, can we sit back and ask which hope is going to be dashed first? Because hopes get dashed.
What leads to that, though?
This is the thing that puzzles me because, there are many thoughts around it. Look at the primary contribution that we make. We pay taxes. You tax us a little more, we grumble a little bit, we pay. We grumble even more, you still tax us again, we still pay. So our bit is done. Now, when it comes to doing what you say you're going to do with what we've done, we have a continuous problem. That is what bothers me.
Let me give you a different perspective on that. I think when you look at it, right, would you agree with me that Kenya's democratic space has opened up a lot more? Do you agree with that?
Phenomenally.
Right. So that in itself lends to you the process of credibility in terms of the democratic process, number one. Number two, 16,000 people allowed to stand, and really, there's so many independents also, despite the party numbers. What was allowed, right? There wasn't any restriction there. That was quite crucial, right? Number three, I think the process, we may say a few flaws here and there, but hey, when you're running so many 42,000 polling stations and all that stuff, even in running an organization like this, you also have a few things. It's a nightmare, logistical nightmare. And also, I think the funding of it, that's another issue, right? And although we may all agree, and I think this is what I would say next time, let's not have these sort of elections. Let's have it on your mobile phone, right? So that you can just vote where you are, and that's it. And yes, it's credible, and it's checking you out so that you've got all the flaws sorted out. But using technology can be done. However, my point is, people are now able to speak their mind and say, I want to know, you promised me this, can you deliver, right? And you've seen it. You've seen it happening early. Why? Because I think there is the two sides of the coin, where there's one side who says we won, one side who says we lost. And in any case, whether we like it or not, one side was going to lose, the other side was going to win.
Yeah.
Whichever way. So I think that's not an issue. But the point is that we took it peacefully. We took it through a process which went through the judicial process. This was a clarion call for Kenya Daima itself to say, in case you have a dispute, in case you don't agree with the process or anything else, go to court. And this time, I can say openly, all the four presidential candidates, right, apart from many others, but all the four presidential candidates did sign the Kenya Daima Leadership and Peace Pledge, right? They also signed on to the pledge from NCIC, which was talking about, political decency. I think this is quite crucial. These are public statements or commitments they have made to say, I will not take part in anything that is not proper. Number two, if I have a dispute, I will go to court. And it went to court. Despite all the hues and cries and don't go to court, do this, do that, whatever it may be, it went through the process and that happened. Now that's happened. So I think this sets Kenya really apart in the whole of Africa, number one. Number two, I think what's going to be happening now is we need to improve on public accountability, which means it's about all of us as Kenyans. And at Kenya Daima, we talked about wajibu wangu. Our call was wajibu wangu, which means my responsibility, right? What does my responsibility mean? It means let's take responsibility for making sure things happen, right? In the past, we were all about haki yetu. Haki yetu means give me my rights. Give me my rights means you give me my rights.
Yeah.
And this time it's more about wajibu wangu, which means I take responsibility. I will elect the people I bring in. And I think that's important. When we said nitatenda wajibu wangu, it actually talked about a call to say, let's all take responsibility. Now, we've done that. The elections are over. Today, what is wajibu wangu? At that time, it was about kupiga kura, which means we told everyone, please go and vote. Do not go and say, it's okay if I don't vote because it's my single vote. Singularly, like if you don't vote, you're making a choice to say, I don't care, whoever comes in. I think that's important. So the whole issue around voter apathy, we need to get it removed to say, like, all the youth and everybody else who says, my vote doesn't count, it does count.
So, Vimal, do you think then you reserve the right to then be involved in any kind of participatory governance? Because that's what we're calling it now. It's, being accountable, saying, or rather holding leaders at whatever level accountable. If you do not vote, do you reserve the right to participate in governance? Because we're saying that it's changing from what you're saying. It cannot then be the modus operandi can no longer be leader will tell people this is how we will run. No. It is everybody together and saying, look, one, we can accept, or two, we cannot accept. Are you then saying that if you do not vote, you do not reserve the right to participate in this governance?
Well, you're opting out. In a way, you're opting out. And I think this is something that we need to rectify and correct. But that's morally, right? But legally, your rights are still there. As a citizen of Kenya, your rights are still there.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can stop that. But morally, you actually said, I really don't care whoever comes in. So that's what I'm saying. We need to encourage more and more of our people to say, please make a vote.
Sure.
Make it happen. And Kagua kabla ya kuchagua, what was that? That meant please check out who you are putting into place because they are going to be your leaders for the future. It's not about... Sorry to say that it's not about the notes that you get on a campaign trail where you say, now I've got loyalty here. It's about who can make things happen for us going forward. And I think that's all about credibility, transparency, and really the type of leader you want. Because it's the same thing in a family.
How would you see this playing out? I've got to ask that. So the vote is not going to happen for another 5 years. And we can basically put that aside. But there's a government in place for 5 years.
Yes.
What ought to happen, even as we talk about and use all these very nice buzzwords, participatory governance and, holding the government accountable, etc., holding your leaders accountable. What must be done? You see something going wrong, you speak about it. Yes. What? Are we saying going to the courts? What are we saying?
No,
so needs to happen.
So thanks a lot for that question. I think the important point here is, and it's a debate, right? I think the issue is around, as a citizen, whether I voted or not, I still have a right to public participation, right? I can participate at the MCA level. I can participate actively at my, MP level and talk to them and tell them this is not right. And I think this is something that we would advocate for as Mkenya Daima, ni wajibu wangu, which means every one of us, every one of you listening out there, take responsibility and say, I can question. And public participation is entrenched in our constitution everywhere else. We can do that, okay? We can improve every single thing that we've got. Let's not throw it to the politicians and say, shauri yao. It's not shauri yao, it's shauri yetu. Let's look at it. Our national anthem speaks about it, ni wajibu wetu, right? And I think this is crucial to bring back to say, everything we do now, let's all participate. Whether you vote, I would put it this way, whether you voted or not, whether I voted or not, it doesn't matter anymore. The people who have come in have come in. Let's hold them accountable. Right? They made promises, let them sort of bring it up. Yeah. But at the same time, can I help as a citizen to really make sure that whatever was promised can be done? Because whatever was promised was good for the economy, was good for the people. The only thing is in delivery, they may face hurdles. Like you said just now, that we face this hurdle and nothing happens afterwards. Let's see what's stopping them. Let's be participatory. Right now, if you see people are patient, waiting, something will happen someday. And I think the important thing is that we don't erupt later on and say, it never happened. Let's all participate. And I think this is crucial. Let's also be impartial now about which side you were on or which side you were not on. I think the commitment to say, let's improve our economy, let's look at where we are going, and really competencies. There are many competencies in Kenyans today. Right, a lot of them are inert. They're sitting in there, but they're latent, I'd call them. Right, we need to bring them out and really expose them and say, fine, here we are. And picking from all the learnings, we can have participation at every level. I would say to every citizen, participate at every level and be vocal about it, because you can hold everybody accountable.
Sure. I think we need to define participation. And to talk about, what constitutes participation? Is it attending a meeting and all? But let's continue that conversation after this break. It's 29 minutes after 8. Dr. Vimal Shah, industrialist, is a chairman of the Kenya Daima Initiative Steering Committee. We are talking about the lessons on peace leadership, accountability after the elections. What is our role? Wajibu wangu ni upi baada ya uchaguzi? Vimal, do you run?
Do I?
Do you run?
Not for office. Not for office.
No, I walk.
You walk. All right. So this Sunday, you can join CT because he'll be walking 5 kilometers at the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon.
Walking or running?
Walking.
I don't mind walking.
You see, it isn't as though if I walk, the kilometers will become shorter. It's same 5 kilometers. The issue here is time. But I'm certain I can walk faster than some people can run. So, walk.
It's participation.
It's participation.
Yes. Yep. Yes. The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon takes place this Sunday, flagging off at Uhuru Gardens, using the Southern Bypass back and forth. Those who are running 42 kilometers are well prepared. Those who are doing the half marathon, 21 kilometers, are well prepared. Those who are doing the 10 kilometers are ready. Those who are doing the 5 kilometers are ready. Which one are you going to do? 10 or 5?
5?
5 is good.
Done. I'll accompany you.
Okay.
5 is good.
5 is good.
5 is very good.
Sour.
10 is pushing it.
Time for a break. We'll be back shortly after this. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The adults in the room.
He's promiscuous or he's polygamous. We need to get over ourselves.
So I should always know the man that marries me, I know there'll be other women.
Yes.
The relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of the relationships you will have with other people.
Things that we never talk about. 3 things. Stop, breathe, and relax.
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not.
Tune in to Adults in the Room
every Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The adults in the room will help you stay winning. Only on 94.4 SpiceFM, Nairobi.
All right, looking at sunny conditions in Nairobi, highs of 28 today and lows of 17. It's 15 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 27 as well. In a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 16. Highs of 26 is what we'll see in Eldoret. It's mostly sunny at the moment at 18 and 26, and rainy in some parts of Mombasa. Highs of 30 and lows of 24. Malindi is also sunny at 27, highs of 30 and lows of 24. We'll see sunny conditions throughout Kisumu today, going to highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 30 in Kakamega, where it's currently sunny at 23. It's 23 and sunny as well in Kampala, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 30 in a rainy Dar es Salaam this morning at 26. Looking at Johannesburg, it's sunny at 16, highs of 23 and lows of 13, and mostly clear at 25 in Lagos, going to highs of 31. 31 will also be the high in a rainy Kinshasa this morning at 24. All right, continues in most parts of the city this morning. We saw that movement happening on the Thika Superhighway, then coming into the city. It's not so bad this morning. We're looking at Jogo Road, still pretty heavy as you're getting out towards the roundabout at the City Stadium. But then Uhuru Highway, then from Nyayo Stadium out towards Haile Selassie slows down some, and it's under the expressway. That's what we're talking about. So the Thika Superhighway coming in from the drive-in is where most of the traffic is happening this morning, as well as on Limuru Road. So we're keeping an eye on things and seeing how they'll open up. Ring Road Westerns, bumper to bumper as you get out. James Gishuru also doing the thing over the drift, connecting with Waiyaki Way, and they'll see some spillover towards the Link Road. Keep an eye on things. What's going on where you are? Flowing smoothly in most parts this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
26
Nairobi.
minutes to 9. The conversation continues with Dr. Vimal Shah, the chairperson of the Kenya Daima Initiative Steering Committee. We're talking about the role of citizens after the elections. And Vimal was saying, so how do we define this participation? There are those that think participation is going for meetings that have been called by your leaders. So you go in there and you sit, you are there for 3-4 hours, engage. Or you write petitions and go to the Houses of Assembly or to court with written petitions. Or you go to a leader's office and you say, this is what's happening in my area. That's participation. How about on social media? How about speaking in public fora and just saying, we feel that this is not happening? Is that not participation?
I think there's two types of participation. One is just venting, or I'd call it vomiting it out and just putting it out there on social media and saying, I'm against this or that. I think active participation would mean let's define the issue and let's see what are the options available and what would you like to look at. And I think even goes back to keeping people true to their promises. If you promise something, and I don't think anybody's got anything wrong against the manifestos that were put up or even the economic manifestos by county governments, by everybody else. They've also got visions. Today, I would say they're all looking for ideas. They're all looking for how do we make this happen, right? And that's a participation point where you can talk to your MCA and, your first point of call is your MCA. From MCA, you go to county governor. And that's where really all the work gets done today. Because of devolution now, let's realize that it's not the president that you go and speak to because even the president has to then siphon it down back to the county governments. Let's talk to people who are relevant, number one. Number two, you can petition on any issue of concern that you have. You can petition, you can write a letter, and you can tell them, we want to engage on this one, right? And I think that's important. Civic education here is required to say, fine, you can engage. And I think the point right now is everybody's willing to engage. They're looking for ideas of how do I make it better. Second, I think when you look at, let's encourage everybody, whether you voted or not. Let's not have this thing about universal suffrage and, I didn't vote, so I've not got a right. You've got a right. You can actually talk about it. The people who come in, they come in. The participation on public at local level. Now, there's a lot of documents that come out in the press. If you see them, there's an advert for public participation on a road, on an issue, or something that's happening in your local areas. How many of us even look at that or even highlight that and say, let's go and participate here? When the budget is being made, there's a public participation invited. Everybody's invited to come and speak on budgets. Every county advertises to say, we're now looking at our budget, come and participate. I think a lot of people think it's not for me, it's for
there are people who
they will do all that.
Or there are people who feel, and I think it's worthy noting that there are those folks who feel that this public participation is a tick the box exercise. And the question really then is, how much of my views will really be put into the final decision that is made? For some situations in other countries, Vimal, we can't run away from it, that if they call for public participation, you can bet your bottom dollar that your participation will be included in that final decision. You know that if a road is being built and they called you to participate in whether it should be or which money should be used there, the accountability index is extremely high. So in as much as folks feel, all right, there are some people who should participate, there's also a number of folks who feel as though their input is not going to be included in the final decision. And we can't run away from that reality.
No, we can't. But I'll put it the other way around. Let's not start from a scarcity mechanism, scarcity mentality. Let's go to abundance mentality and say, yes, we will speak our mind. We will say it. And then if it doesn't happen, then we'll hold them accountable. But at the same time, I believe in one thing. If the student hasn't learned, the teacher hasn't taught. So if you haven't gone and put out your issues out there, don't assume that, oh yeah, nobody listens to me anyway. But that's something that's inside you. Let's remove that. I think there's a new government. There's a lot of new changes. Everybody is new. Let's go and make it happen. And then if it fails, you've then got activism, right? There's lots of activism that can be done. But I think for want of trying to say, because nobody listened to me in the past, I will have apathy, let me not even speak. I think that's something.
They say that history is the best teacher.
True, but history changes. Why don't you come in and write history? I'd invite Kenyans to say, we're writing history. I mean, this time, history was written for Kenya. It was a historical election, right? Against all odds, a party that was all, not going to win has won. Whatever's the point, things have changed, right? So I think this is something important. Everybody was fearful before the elections. Everybody was fearful that something's going to go wrong. We had all the media guys and everybody else saying, where's the trouble? Where's the trouble? Right. And on the same day, we were looking and saying there was no trouble, and they couldn't believe it. They still feel that there's going to be trouble. I think the issue around this is we're all skeptics. I'd like us to say, let's change that viewpoint and say, we can articulate. I think if you see the leadership now, they're actually asking, let us know, let us be patient, let's talk about it. Let's vent it out, let's bring it out. But my point is one more thing. When you go onto social media, as you said, Eric, go on social media and just vent out things are bad, the economy is bad. Let's put out the articulation of what is bad, what can be done about it. And the minute we articulate in that manner, where we provide solutions or options, I can tell you one of things. Out of 1 or 2 or 3 items that you put in, they'll be picked up, 1 or 2 will be picked up and they'll be taken in there, right? But at the same time, let's not stop from participating and giving in our views.
Let's not keep quiet. I think my view is as long as people are venting, that is also participation.
Yes.
Because there are people who will come out and say, there's a road that's being built in my neighborhood and I don't like this road and I was not consulted and my neighbors are also complaining about this. That raises the issue. Now, there will be others who will take it up and forward it to the relevant authorities, to the relevant leaders. Leaders also ought to be able to pick this. This is the voice of the people. They don't have to write to you in a signed petition. You just read and see, okay, people are complaining about a certain road. Let me take action about a certain from that. We've seen the DPP taking action from tweets saying, all right, I have seen a certain conversation taking place on social media, and I am directing the Inspector General of Police to institute investigations of this. I think that is also participation.
I agree with you.
It's important.
I agree with you fully. I think, Eric, that's very important. It's called diagnosis and prognosis. So in order to get diagnosis, to say there's pain here, vent it out. Nothing wrong with that, right? And then, of course, there are others who can participate and say, here's a prognosis of what can be done about this. I think that's a lot of intellectual dialogue that happens on social media. Yeah. Why not encourage that? I think there's nothing wrong with that. However, I think if you see the but the people now, the leaders at every level, right, are now sensitive to what's being said on social media, and they pick it up, right? I'm not talking about the malicious beating below the belt stuff, but really, if you bring it out in an articulate manner, people will take it up.
You wanted to say something, I interrupted you.
No, you didn't actually interrupt me. You ignited a certain thought process, and I'm thinking, everything we're saying sounds really nice, huh? And it's nice because we actually see it happening. It is true. We are engaging with our political process. We are engaging with the democracy. But it doesn't get to the heart of the matter in my mind, because the primary preoccupation with political leaders and those who end up in government is not to provide services for the people. Not really. Many do. It appears that the reason why people get into these positions is to see how quickly they can get rich. Now, the unfortunate thing is that wealth that they seem to apportion to themselves is what is intended to bring about these changes that we're talking about. We experimented with technocrats. The previous government experimented with technocrats. If I needed proof of the concept that it is not a technocratic, it is not a political issue, it's a human Kenyan thing. It was that. Now we have people in authority who are predominantly politicians. Now I do not hold politicians in very high regard. Not because as people they are bad, but what they do and the tasks before them and the responsibility they have, they are often abrogated. So much as I may want to think well of them, they don't give me much of a choice. There isn't really very much I can look at.
Historical experience?
No, it's just simple experience because how do we talk about the billions of shillings, for instance, that we give to the counties, and yet the conversation about what these billions are used for is never, at best, it's opaque, at best. What you hear with clarity is it's not enough. So you say, okay, got that, but the one you got, what did you do with it? So that we can understand what it has done, so that when you say it's not enough, we know what else is needed. And yet, this vetting, for me, this one didn't even just put the icing on the cake. It baked another cake altogether. In fact, several cakes. Hey, everyone who was being vetted is a multimillionaire. And I'm thinking, wait, what don't I understand here? Perhaps when I grew up.
You now understood why you're not on the list.
My friend, with those figures, I will never be on the list. Ever. Even you give me a second lifetime, I won't be. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that everything we're saying is true, but we have a long way to go. Doesn't mean we shouldn't continue. I'm saying let's have a different perspective, even when it comes to holding leaders to account. Let us be a little more practical. This issue of them being in power for 5 years, yes, the term is 5 years. It doesn't mean we're going to let you sit there for another 5 years, doing what we didn't want you to do. Our constitution allows us to have a different conversation about if you don't shape up, you, my friend, you may need to look for another job. That, in my mind, when we're talking about accountability, we said this when we're talking about committees that are vetting. I was of the view that before you even vet, there needs to be a document already prepared. And the countries are told, you see this document? If you don't fulfill what you have said, we are going to initiate this process. And you, my friend, will be out. You are not going to promise and think we're going to sit back and just abide by the nonsense you're going to bring.
So some form of a social contract.
Written down, and we tell you, here we are, we've already documented, we've got it in place. Vimal, what do you think?
I think it's important. What you say is very, very important. But let me just say one more thing, right? Let's remind ourselves, let's remind all Kenyans and politicians and people coming into government that politics is not about just feeding myself. It's not about me getting rich. And I think the important point here is it's about equitable service delivery to the people. If we can drive this home to say, coming into politics or coming into coming into leadership at any level, whether it's CS or whatever level, PS, it's equitable service to the people. If that's not being done, there's no point, number one. Number two, it's not, and I say it again, it's not an opportunity to enrich ourselves. And also I'd like to highlight that it's not about because of my ethnic bias or because of my tribe, my people, and they come in. I think it's about national cohesion and development. This is crucial to hold people truth. To tell them very clearly, this is what we must do, first of all. Secondly, it's not about me first. It's not about me first mentality. I think it's about putting Kenya first. If I put Kenya first and then me second, right? And I think the important thing is the service delivery. That's going to be different. Because if we talk about this, we're all looking at Kenya's prosperity, right? If Kenya prospers, we all prosper together. If there is peace, we all prosper together. However, 2010 is when our new constitution came in. That's the time when we started doing this. It's 12 years now, right? It's a journey, right? When you look at development happening and where we got CSs coming in who are now not politicians or rather not in parliament. Let's put it the other way around. There could be politicians per se, but they're not in parliament. They're not supposed to be in parliament.
Not sitting MPs.
Exactly. They're not sitting MPs. Therefore, they are an executive running directly under the president. Yep. So you can hold them fully accountable to whatever they do, and you can hold the president accountable to whatever their actions are. I think that's a key factor that's changed. So the executive is independent. Your parliament is independent. I think the whole National Assembly and the parliament. And then, of course, you've got the judiciary being independent. I think that's important. Number two, I think the key issue here is being able to say as it is, rather than say, let's go for sycophancy. And I think this is important to say that a lot of times we all talk about being sycophant to this person or that person. I can't tell them the truth because, if she's got a problem, I can't tell her because I have to tell her the right things. Right. No, I think let's go and say it as it is.
Being blunt,
but not abrasive, and not being malicious about hitting below the belt. I think that's what really touches people. Yeah. If you give constructive criticism and tell them this is what it could be, this is what it should be, right? I can tell you one thing: whether it's your road, whether it's your place, whether it's the environment, whether it's corruption. Otherwise, this whole issue of corruption, last 10 years we talked about it, and there were many pronouncements made, we shall end corruption. Nothing happened to it, right? Which is why we've got the apathy, right? A lot of people are apathetic that nothing's going to change.
Yeah. But Vimal, how do we rub out something that we encourage and something that we've institutionalized? I mean, it didn't happen. It's not as though it was transported to us from some other planet. This is homegrown.
Yes, so that is systemic. There is something that is systemic, something that is there in the sense of inspector coming and stopping you and saying, I need money for this, right? Let's call that speed money, right? Yep. In order to sort it out. Yep. Fight it. I would say fight it. It's got to be fought through associations, through coming together. Alone I'm weak, together we are strong. And in fact, we come together on this and say, fine, we're not going to give this. We've got an Anti-Bribery Act now. We've got that whole thing there. Let's make sure we enact it, right? But apart from enacting it and really living through it, let's stop giving away where you don't want to give.
No, you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But Vimal, let me just throw the cat among the pigeons. So, for example, the Kenya Daima initiative is led mostly by the business sector. We have very many engagements between the business sector and the government. When you talk about corruption happens with government officials being facilitated and enabled by the private sector. So the private sector is very much to blame, just as much as those people who are individuals in public service. We don't hear the private sector coming out strongly to say we are speaking out against some of our members on issues of corruption. We don't hear the private sector coming out to say we do not want, these are our basic operating rules with anybody who is doing business with government. You don't have anything like that. You've never signed up anything. You've made politicians sign documents, but you yourself have not signed anything to say this is how we shall conduct business with government, to make sure that you start fighting corruption at that level. When several of you came together and said, you know what, just so that we can create that openness in government, the late Bob Collymore and others said, this is how much I earn, this is my wealth, this is what I do. Not everybody took it up. So the private sector really is the one that is squarely holding this baby.
Well, I think everybody who's not in government is private sector, right? So you can talk about civil society, you can talk about people in religious, they're all private sector. So I think all together.
So we are private sector.
Yes, you are private sector. You're absolutely private sector. If you're not in government, you're private sector. Private. Number one. Okay. Number two, it's about wajibu wangu now. And I think this is where we hold everybody responsible to say, let us all make sure we have a code of ethics. Very clear code of ethics. And there will always be, and there always have been, people who actually go and give speed money, go and give to corruption and give to whatever inducements. You've seen the entrepreneurs, right? In Kenya.
Yep.
And this is all collaboration, collusion with government officers, right?
Yep.
Trying to make that transparent is a big thing right now, and that's what should be done. So I think that's one more thing. Second thing is, when you're doing business with government, let's make it transparent. Let's make the processes such that there is less human intervention there, where the human discretion is reduced, right? And there are possibilities to do that. However, obviously, the people will have to speak about this. The people will have to speak about it and say, fine, if they see something happening, let's make sure we report it.
You've mentioned something good, a code of ethics. So
Yes.
should we expect something like a code of ethics coming from the Kenya Daima initiative?
It's already there. Have a look.
On how to deal with government, how to do business with government?
Yes, go and look at the code of ethics. It's online. Even if my company, we've got a code of ethics online. You can download them. There's lots
What does
happening.
it say?
It clearly says you don't give bribes. You don't pay money on the side. You don't give inducements. You don't even take inducements. Not about give, but you don't even take inducements.
Yes.
It's there. That code of ethics we must all live by. And I think there's a whole, team of people who have actually signed up to it. Even the UN Global Compact, people have signed up to it. Now we just make sure we live up to it. It's not always that it's in the law and it's already in the law. It's only about making sure it is now enacted. Again, we say wajibu wangu, right? If every one of us made sure we don't give. And if every one of us said, we don't do this, right? We stand up to it. And we fight for rights. Now, sometimes the processes that have been made in such a manner that you are induced to say, in order to speeden this up, I have to give something here. That's your tender issues, right?
Yeah.
We need to rectify that. I think that's important. That's where your collusion is. Now, if we don't root it out, let me tell you one thing. It's not about this government. For the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you will have that creeping on. And then what are you going to leave for your children here? The key issue is not about today and me and you. It's about what do we leave for our children. I think this is where the credibility needs to come in. And I think the whole discussion has happened. It's a journey. We're not going to get rid of it in one day. Yeah. But the systemic problems that are there, where the system actually says, unless you give, you don't get a job. Yeah. Unless you induce, you don't get this. I think we've got to go on a different tangent there. Mm-hmm. So again, is it going to happen tonight? At midnight tonight, everything changes? No. Is it a journey? Yes. Can we help it? Yes, we can. In fact, I would put it to all three of you. I think you three can really change the narrative towards that, right? Towards Wajibu Wangu. And you say, fine, it's your responsibility, our responsibility. Singularly, I vote, but together we make a difference. And I think that really can help make a big difference. And we hold people accountable. If something is going wrong, rather than say, let's make it sensational. Sorry to say this. Yep. A lot of the media want a story and they want to make it sensational so that they sell the media. I'd rather say, let's stick with the facts and get the facts clear. Because a lot of fake news these days comes out on, just trying to pull down Eric or trying to pull down somebody and say, let's put them down. I think that's not required. What we require is factual, fact check, and really bring the truth out.
The business community is not to blame, really. There's a way in which business is conducted. It's legal, it's above board. You want to meet people, you have a cocktail party. You want to sell a product, you give freebies. It's business. You're told this is a sample of what we have.
You advertise on Standard.
Yep. Yes, we do. I'm saying there's a way in which business is done. Okay. It's not necessarily inducement. When you conduct research, you compensate your participants, or you remunerate them for their time and also for the transport. There are ways in which monies, goods and services are expended to ensure that there's some smooth running and consideration is there. This isn't really the subject of the discussion here. What you're calling is systemic. The normalizing through leadership, because normalization is not what Eric and I and you do. No. It's those in leadership. Those people look at. Now, if the things we're saying are seen to be normal at that level, the harm that is done is irreparable. Because it now becomes, if it is, because the way we are constructed as human beings, we actually look up to leadership. And if leadership leads in a particular way, then it becomes the norm. So even when we talk about it, and the leadership is what seems to be fighting against it, we have our work cut out for us. It doesn't mean we don't fight, but it simply means that the need to be realistic about how we are going to fight it needs to be perhaps given a little tweak, because this thing is not just in the system, it's in our bone marrow. It is serious. You can hardly do any business with government without huge chunks of money being required of you. It is next to impossible. When people talk about the system being compromised, they don't know half the story. Now, how do we get us to move to the point where people understand this is what I'm supposed to do, let me do it, and let life move on? How do you get to that point?
I think that's a very valid point, and I think I agree with you fully that we need to rectify that. In order to rectify that, let's do a diagnosis. What's the diagnosis of the problem? The root cause is where people start saying, oh, I've got a tender here, and this is my ministry coming out with tender, so give it to one of my friends and say, have a look at it, right? Change the norms in that and then make it different so that the specifications are so different that they go out and, there's only singular person who can supply that product, and therefore it becomes different. So I think that's one thing. Collusion around that, make it transparent. Can we make it more and more transparent? Can we use technology so that it's advertised, people all see it, and then there is a system? It can be done. Is it being done elsewhere? It's being done elsewhere. Why not here? So it goes back to trust, right? Today, what's happening is the level of trust is very, very low in what people say as politicians and what we listen to. Because we listen or we hear things the way we are, not the way it's being said. we have a lot of mistrust amongst ourselves. And I think this is important to say, fine, if you said this, so get people to say, commit to this. If they've committed to certain things, let's hold them to that. And say, fine, if you've committed to this, make sure we're going to hold you to responsible to that. And if you hold them responsible to that there will be no such thing happening. And if things go wrong, then you got to hold them accountable to say, sorry, you said this, you did something different. So integrity, leave it, it's okay. Integrity, right? Intent, competency and results. If any of these is zero, the trust is becoming zero.
Yeah.
So integrity, which means what you say and what you do should be congruent. Intent, the way you do it and what your intentions really are. Is it to defraud or is it to really help development? If that's happening, let me tell you one thing. Give them the credit for it. If they did a good job.
Yeah.
If somebody did a good job, give them the credit. Third thing is competency. Do they have the competencies? And that's where the vetting and what is going on to see competencies. And then results. You could have the best of integrity, best of intent, good competency, but no results. Right? Then again, you erode the trust. So I think this is where we need to have all four and it'll have a level.
Aligned.
We will keep improving on this all the time. It happens in private sector, it happens in companies, it happens in families. Let's improve that so that we start taking this. The last thing I want to say is wajibu wangu. This is our responsibility as citizens of Kenya to say, let's hold people accountable to what they say. Right?
Very well said, Vimal. Dr. Vimal Shah, the chairperson of the Kenya Daima Initiative Steering Committee, has been here with us. Come again and let's keep holding all of us accountable for everything we do.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Keep it here for more. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission chairperson of Chebukati has welcomed the gazettement of vacancies for the chairperson and two members of the Electoral Commission by President William Ruto. This after President Ruto notified the Commission of the vacancies, citing that Chebukati Commissioners Abdi Guliye and Boya Molu's terms lapses on January 17, 2023. This is less than 3 months away. Taking to social media, Chebukati acknowledged the announcement, noting that it will ensure a seamless transition in the Electoral Body's leadership. The three were appointed on January 18, 2017, serving a 6-year non-renewable term. The National Assembly Committee has retreated to draft a report to be debated, considered and voted on in the National Assembly as required by the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011. After a rigorous vetting process of 24 nominees to the Cabinet, 22 as Cabinet Secretaries, 1 as Prime Cabinet Secretary and 1 as Secretary to the Cabinet, the 15-member Committee on Appointments of the National Assembly concluded the exercise over the weekend. The last to appear was the Secretary to the Cabinet nominee, Mercy Wanjau, with legislators now retreating to review the performance of the interviews. The report will be submitted before the Committee of the Whole House to be debated upon before the names approved will be delivered to the President for official appointment. Now, as the CBC work group continues to gather opinions, NAT Secretary General Collins Oyu has urged the government to speed up the process of providing effective training to teachers across the country before the implementation of CBC. Speaking in Nyeri County, Oyu said that the government must properly prepare teachers to ensure the effectiveness and proper execution of the CBC curriculum.
Our interest as Kenya National Union of Teachers is that CBC should be addressed to accommodate teachers in this republic. At the implementation of CBC, we cried out and said, fine, we are conducting a fully fledged research. We came up with a research document which addressed teacher preparedness in the implementation of CBC. But are you mindful of the passengers in the train? We didn't receive any answers. The answers are there now because teachers are not prepared. They actually have minimal training on CBC.
Now, former Narok North MP Moitalela Ole Kentas praised President William Ruto for announcing an immediate recruitment of an additional 2,700 forest rangers and 600 forest officers to protect the forest in the country. Kentas said the additional officials will help protect mega water catchment areas like the Masai Mara forest from any form of distraction.
And I think the most important thing is that I've seen that the President is now saying that he's going to protect the water tower and that people should be employed. The incoming minister is also saying the same. I know the Mao, part of the Masai Mara forest has been fenced, but the fence have been vandalized, but I'm happy that the forest people or the forest rangers have been able to repel these people who are trying to get in by force after the elections. And I just hope that the current president will keep his word and ensure that the Masemo and other forests are fenced to save this country from vagaries of nature. We are seeing the kind of drought that is dominating our livestock, killing people, and just because of destruction of the Masemo and other forests.
Now, Kirinyaga County Police are investigating a case in which 2 children died after a house caught fire in Kiamai Village, Mutira Ward, Kirinyaga County. Kirinyaga County Disaster Management Officer Shujaa John Kiama said the incident was reported to Kerugoya Police Station. According to the police officers, after extinguishing the fire, they discovered that 2 children, a boy about 5 years old and a girl about 3 years old, had been burned beyond recognition. According to police, the father of the 2 children had left to see his father about some arrangement when he was informed about the fire by his brother. According to the kids' grandmother, Faith Wangeshi, the 2 children were under the care of their father after their mother moved to the Middle East after separating from her husband. The remains of the 2 children were moved to Kerugoya Hospital. And the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is mourning the death of its lead creative designer Boniface Muganda. Muganda was killed in a hit-and-run accident along the northern bypass Marurui near the Ashake Club, Nairobi County. The officer, who was attached to the Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Unit, was riding on his motorcycle when he was hit by an unknown motorist. He was pronounced dead on arrival at the Kenyatta University Referral Hospital. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Looking much better at about this time in the morning in terms of traffic on Nairobi streets. Coming off of Jogo Road, it's a lot better now. You'll just get to Landis and then it's going to pack up quite some as you get to the Kamkunji roundabout. All right, what else are we looking at? It's heavy coming out of Westlands and also on the Uhuru Highway between the Nyayo Stadium roundabouts and out towards Haile Selassie. That's pretty busy. On the Thika Superhighway, much better now. And Kiambu Road just has a little bit of what's left of traffic. So we'll keep an eye on things through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
All right, 7 after 9. How you doing? Welcome to the final hour of the Situation Room. Today, we are still here until the top of the hour, running this Sunday in Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, being flagged off on Sunday at Uhuru Gardens, running along the Southern Bypass, 42 kilometers, 21 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and 5 kilometers. The virtual run started yesterday. If you want to participate if you registered for the virtual run, between yesterday and Saturday, make sure that you do the thing. Do like that.
Yes. So you can actually start running, posting your times. Maybe you didn't do so well today. You want to try again on Wednesday. You want to try again on Friday. That's fine. As long as you then post your best times on the leaderboard and you find out where you rank then later. The physical run takes place on the 30th of October. So start moving, guys, so that you can be ready to do this.
Indeed.
Sunday.
The Room brings you highly skilled talent from across the globe, rigorously vetted and trained freelance software engineers, cloud developers, financial analysts, administrative talent, theroom.com, vetted for you, custom for you, working for you. What they've done is the Africa Leadership Academy, the Africa Leadership Group, has an online training platform called alxafrica.com. If you go to alxafrica.com, you take one of those courses. Some go for as long as 1 year, and there's a lot of dedication and time being put into it. Once you're certified, then you join the room and you become part of the talent pool. And organizations such as EY, McKinsey & Company, L'Oreal, Microsoft, Vodafone, Standard Bank, Goldman Sachs, KPMG, MTN, Meta, Upstream, Google, and Amazon have all gone to the room and found some good talent, and they've hired this talent.
Voila.
These companies are looking for tech people, and they are not getting enough tech people. So, be a tech person. Train and get into the room. It's free to train, by the way. alxafrica.com. CT. The proverb, please.
The proverb. The final proverb.
Yeah.
From Somalia.
Yes.
Right. If perchance you happen to have the opportunity
to
live long and grow old, you'll see wonderful things. A man prolonging his life sees a camel giving birth.
A man prolonging his life sees a camel giving birth.
Yes, proverb written clearly by a patrilineal community where women seem to be of very little significance, so they're not mentioned. Or they're taking the view that when you say man, you're talking about mankind.
It's multisex.
Yes, mankind, whole.
The term is multisex. Is it unisex?
All.
Multisex is good.
It is. You're probably all right with multisex.
It's probably better.
It's encompassing, and it fits into this particular, in the 21st century.
Yes, please.
Oh. Okay. What's happening in the counties? A lot is happening in the counties.
Plenty.
Johnson Arthur Sakaja, the governor of Nairobi County, is in office. He inherited a huge bill of people who have supplied services and products, and they have not been paid. To the tune of, guess how much?
How many billion?
99 billion shillings.
Good Lord.
99 billion shillings.
A decent amount.
That's a clean amount. Yes.
I have a question before you start.
Ask.
These things for which they are being owed, it's work completed?
Yes.
Okay, sawa. That's it. You can continue.
Work
for now.
completed, invoices submitted.
All right.
Payment not made to the tune of 99 billion shillings.
Was there anything that was supplied that wasn't needed?
Now they'll tell us.
I'm sure they will. You see, I asked the question because if indeed it was supplied and was needed, it means it was budgeted for. Now, the monies that people receive, are those not the items that people budget with?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Normally that happens.
That's how it happens.
Yes, that's how it goes.
Right.
So remember, Sakaja was the senator for Nairobi, right?
He was.
His counterpart in the Senate, who came from Kiambu County, Kimaniwa Matangi, has inherited 5.87 billion shillings pending bills.
5. There's one 9.
This one is 99.
So essentially it's 6.
Essentially 5.87. Yeah, you can take it. You can round it off to 6.
Round it up to 6. Yeah.
Yes. So neighbors, they're competing. Okay, let's hear. Muranga?
CT, it's not 9 billion in Nairobi, it's 99 billion.
Yes.
And Kiambu is 6.
And Kiambu is 6.
I am aware that
they're not even competing.
There's a gap here, I understand. So that I don't understand it, but let's continue. It means the billions that are dazzling me.
Okay.
Yes.
The governor of Mombasa is called who?
Abdul
Samad Sharif Nasir.
What did he inherit?
He has inherited 5.23 billion shillings in pending bills.
Okay. Pending bills.
Yes.
Right.
He goes on and on and on and on and on. For example, in Kwale, Fatma Achani, who was the deputy governor and is now the governor, has inherited from her governor 2.5 billion shillings in pending bills.
Only.
Yeah.
What's the least amount that someone has inherited?
I don't know what the list is, but this one goes down to 1.02 billion shillings, which is the new governor of Nyandarua, Moses Badilisha Carrier, has inherited 1 billion shillings. Andrew Mwadima in Taita Taveta, 1 billion shillings. Joseph Olelenku, he has carried over, because he's not inheriting, he's carried over 1 billion shillings in pending bills. In Garissa, Nathif Jama, 1.44 billion shillings. Kisii, Simbarati, 1.45 billion shillings. Julius Malombe in Kitui, 1.62 billion shillings. Otuoma in Busia, 1.83 billion shillings. And it goes on and on. Now it says, contractors and suppliers of goods and services to counties face a longer wait for their billions of shillings as governors form committees to scrutinize the pending bills before payment can start. Counties collectively owed suppliers and contractors 153 billion shillings by the end of June 2022, but the settlement of the amount now lies in the hands of pending bills verification and audit task forces. Governors have since last month been forming task forces left, right and centre, those are my words, which are expected to comb through massive records and even physically inspect the projects done or goods supplied before payment can be made. They are forming task force after task force. Remember when the president said we are going to pay these pending bills?
He didn't say it once, though.
Many times.
So which time are we referring to?
And one of the times what we're being told is there is a verification process.
Of course there is.
So you say that you are owed X billion shillings by the Correctional Services Department. You first of all have to bring in your original invoices, bring in the LPO that was given to you, bring the advert that advertised the tender, bring blah, 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 blah. Okay, verify. This is a real bill. Then we shall pay. Governors are now saying the same thing. We are forming a task force to peruse and investigate these pending bills before we commit to paying them. Now, of course, in this country, there is ukora that can happen, right?
No. There's ukora that will happen.
That's by the time these guys were leaving office, there are some people who brought in some invoices and they said, this, I'm owed. So it's important to verify. But then on the other hand, there are those who are saying this whole thing of it, they are forming a task force to verify. It's a shakedown exercise.
History, unfortunately, lends itself to that perspective of yours, to the T. It isn't a question of whether you are owed or not. It is a question that you're owed is understood. But so that you can be paid, which direction should we vet you? Yes, it is everyone who seems to work for the county system, bar a few, there are always exceptions, wants to be rich. And the only way it seems you get rich is by extorting the people who do business either with the national government or with the county government. That's what you do. A percentage of what they're supposed to earn comes to you. Problem with this is people put that into their budgets and into their proposals. So essentially, the counties and the government end up paying for things much, much more than they ought to. It seems to be the norm that we're speaking of in the earlier hour. Yes.
So from what we are saying, it looks as though that from the beginning, it was designed to be just that, a shakedown.
These guys have made it. It was never quite designed.
No, I'm not talking about from the beginning of time.
From the formation of the task forces.
From this is the budget for the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that these are certain things that we need to be done within the county, right? All of this passes through one office. It's not 10 different offices within the county that's going to deal with this. It's one office.
And there's a procurement process.
Abi?
Laid down in law.
Thank you very much. There's a process. There's one office. Down to the individuals in the office, isn't it?
Yes.
They have those positions. 1, 2, 3 of them.
There's procurement committee.
Accountant, whomever, procurement officer, 1, 2, 3, blah, blah. You are aware. It cannot be that, it can be because we're dealing in the realm of, that you know what the budget is, you know what the projects are, you send out the tenders, you are aware of when people come in, they tender, they are awarded, they move. So it was budgeted for, like you say. Somewhere down the line, maybe some were paid here and there. That's why some can have this remaining 1 billion. Others have 99. Others are somewhere in the middle there. So some were paid. But then you also know that there is a system where we say, okay, guys, amongst ourselves here, the only way we're going to be able to make money here is if we hold on to this thing. Because not as if the money doesn't exist. What stops you from somebody having done their job, you pay them? Abi? That's how it should be.
But you will be paid.
But the problem is...
After you've paid for being paid.
And that is the only way that through this thing, we can make some money. Through this thing, we can't just... How can you allow 1 billion to just pass like that and you won't get anything from it? Do you see what I'm saying? As in, on what right mind are you? You just see 1 billion passing like this and you even touch it. No.
It doesn't
so the only way for us to make money is for us to say, now, Eric, so you want to be paid? You want your money, Abby? The money is here.
Come see me.
Now, let's just agree amongst ourselves. I can get this money. Today is Monday. By Monday, next week, you can be paid. But let's agree. Your money is how much? 10 million? Let me do something very quickly so that you just take 7 million and forget about the story. We move.
By the way...
Am I talking about something that is outside the realms of reality?
If only that were the case, it would be simple, cut and dry. Cost of business. You will pay what you're supposed to pay and you still don't get paid.
You pay upfront.
This is what I'm saying.
And you still don't receive.
And you don't get paid.
But what I'm saying is that it has been designed for people to make money. Wajiro said something here, so that this corruption is budgeted for from the very beginning. It is designed in that manner. So if you want to shout from here until eternity that there's pending bills that has not been paid, they know what they're waiting for. It's like the very patient predator in the bush. It will wait. That prey will come and then you will eat.
It's a polished act.
I'm telling you,
it doesn't
will wait.
start with you doing the job. It starts with you vying for it.
At the point when the tender has been...
Yes. There's something called shortlisting.
By the time they put it in, the tender document is put in there and they say they already know where they are going to eat it.
All these fellows, you see, you need to be shortlisted before you even stand a chance. So if you're going to stand a chance, you are going to fork out money so that you stand a chance. Having stood the chance, you will fork out money to ensure that you're among the people who actually get to do the job. Okay?
Yes.
Now that's done. End of that story.
Yes.
Okay, and don't even refer to it. It's done. Then you do the job. Usually, you're paid a certain amount of money when you start. You're paid a certain amount of money when you've done 50% of the job. And then you wait for the other. Now, throughout these promises, these processes, there's an there's an understanding that requires you to you never stop forking out money. Now, in some instances, if you are a keen player in that particular realm of endeavor, you will find that even when the job has been done and let's say the miracle of all miracles happen and they've paid you your money, don't think that it ends there. When these individuals have a harambe, they come to you. When they have these many problems that Africans like having, they come to you. Okay? It never ends.
So it's a beginning. It's a long journey.
It is a long,
just because I gave you a
journey.
gig.
Yes, which you have done and for which you've been paid. And
you owe me now for the rest of...
Yes, and they'll pull another stunt on you. They will even tell you, after all that has been done, that you are not the lowest. And we take the lowest. And for you now to be considered, there's always...
Somebody's giving you that narrative. Don't you think you play ball?
There's always, believe me, it's a well-oiled machinery. It's like counties talk to each other. The people involved in that thing. It's the same story. Promises will be made. Today is Monday. Tomorrow is Tuesday. And followed by Wednesday.
By Monday next week.
You've got the money.
End of the month.
In fact, Wednesday is latest. All you need to do is this. You're sure. But see, I've got the document. I'm looking at it. You are not there, so you don't know.
That's it. Aweke kidole tumalize. That's it.
And I've spoken to so and so.
And it is not a today decision. That is why I'm telling you. From the very beginning, when they know that there is this project in the county for the supply of 1, 2, 3, they already know where it is going, how much is going to be eaten. You think you'll get your 1 million. They've already known from that 1 million what is going to. So you can shout about pending bills from here until the cows come home. The truth of the matter is that if the money actually does leave county, it is not going to be complete money. There's a reason why they're holding on to it, because they know it is not a matter of there's no money. I'm sorry. It's not that there's no money. Oh, we are looking for the money to pay. No. Let's be very clear about some of these things.
Remember a while back I talked about the percentages of monies that one is expected to fork out if you're in this line of work. And as we're getting to the election, remember I mentioned to you that people whom I know who conduct business or used to conduct business with the county told me it had gone up to 70%, meaning you're the one who's done the business.
70% of what?
Of what you're supposed to get, they want.
Of the billed amount?
Yes, they want.
Sorry, what?
70%.
All right, so you've given me a contract to supply water.
Yes, take anything.
Sour. Okay. I have placed the bid for 150 bob.
Yes.
For 500 milliliter bottle of water.
Yes.
Which I go and buy at 90 bob.
Yes.
So there's like a 60 bob there that's
I'm going to
floating
make
for me.
some.
Nice. So you want to say they'll ask for 70% of the 150?
Yes.
That's it?
Okay. So that is easier. So let's make it 100 so that it's easier to do the maths. They'll 170.
But that is what you
so
bought
for every
it for.
100 bob I bill, 70 bob will go to them.
But it doesn't make sense because that's what it's more than what you've bought it for.
I'm trying to explain to you just how bizarre it is.
No, please.
70, not 7, 70.
Please excuse me.
And that
There's
is
no way your margin
that
can
is
be
when
70%.
and that is when
City,
you are supposed to be paid your money. Forget what you've paid before you even got to that point.
Oh yeah, to get there, to get awarded the contract.
Forget all that.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
You must understand this thing that you're saying, 70% of the amount that you're going to be paid is more than what you bought the thing for in the first place.
It's more than everything.
If I'm supplying this cup to Nyandara County and they said they want 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
See, I've gone and I've bought it in bulk in order for me to get a lower price.
Yeah.
Right?
It's called wholesale.
Thank you very much. I've bought it at 100 shillings. I'm going to sell it at 150. Now, if you, the procurement guy, is asking me for 70% of that, that's the money you want me to give you for looking at me right. It is more than what I bought
Your
it
margin
for.
is not 70%.
So you're going at a loss.
No.
You won't make any money now.
I think you're missing the point.
Is not 70%.
You are discussing a church picnic where things are supposed to be prayed over and everything is clear. Let me just start.
Even church picnic, and then they do like that.
Remember, the procurement department, they get theirs because they're the ones who got you to the point where you actually have the job. That's different payment.
Yeah.
There are these people who now organize your payment, finance, department, accounting, those ones.
Yeah.
Okay? Verification.
Those are the ones.
Now, system inatoka.
Yes. This is a second tier, okay? They do the thing, it's reached here. You know, it's reached here, it's gone here, it's gone here, it's gone here.
No
now it's about to come out. Okay? Now for it to come out. Okay?
God have mercy.
You know, there are people
Meanwhile,
listening
no
who's
way
gone
going
through
to-
this torture. When we give them an opportunity to call in, you will hear.
What?
These aren't fairy tales that I sat under a tree and made up. I am telling you what I've been told.
But what I'm asking you, please help me to understand. You did all this work, You're going at a loss. As in, by the time anything comes out, if it actually does, you are even in debt.
Yeah.
You'll be in debt.
Let me explain to you.
So imagine if you took a loan to go and buy this 100,000 cups or whatever. By the time the money comes out 5 years down the line, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
5 years of pending bills, right? By the time it actually comes out, you're in debt.
Actually, it's worse than that because when that 150 shillings hits your account, KRA will know you've been paid 150 shillings.
So 30% of that
They also want
is income tax.
So
30% KRA, 70% accountant.
Finish now. It's like you
and
said,
bank
I
loan
don't have
and interest
anything
rate
to do.
waiting for you.
It's like you said, I don't have anything to do today. I'm not hungry. Let me go and work for the county.
I want to begin a scheme that I'm sure is foolproof. And this scheme guarantees that I will remain poor or I'll be poorer than when I started. Let me go and do business in the county.
Wow. You know, when former President Uhuru Kenyatta started ordering, let's clear these pending bills. By the way, let's put it in perspective, yeah? Counties owe people 153 billion shillings. The entire country, national and county governments owe people close to 600 billion shillings. 600 minus 153. 450 billion shillings is owed by the national government. Okay? The national government owes people 450 billion shillings. When the president then said, let's start paying,
2019.
a scrutiny was undertaken. The then Auditor General, Ednah, said 35 billion shillings of those pending bills were fake or they were not meeting the threshold for payment. That point. 35% of them are just things that have been snuck through. So have a pending bill, pile up, pressure. Lipa kila mtu bana. Hey, someone who has done nothing gets paid.
And that person who has done nothing could very well be sitting in the accounting office of the country.
That's the accountant.
Yeah.
See, they're the ones who do the documentation. They're the ones who verify the documentation. Yes, so? You know, when we talk about it being systemic is a good word because it explains that it's something that has embedded itself in the system and has become part and parcel of the moving parts of this particular enterprise. Huh? But it is infinitely worse than that. When I say it goes into the bone marrow, it has become normal and you should expect it. The reprieve is if somebody asks for less. That's the reprieve.
That's like, hiya.
In fact, you want to hear it again. Or they say, no, it is. If someone actually says, no, that's just what I'm supposed to do, you'll actually probably sit down and you'll be recovering from a shock because you'll be wondering what on earth is happening here. What I'm trying to say is, it is something that we talk about, but it has become normalized because people believe it is okay to extort.
And it's not. This is the theatre of the absurd. It's not. It's not okay. And that's the thing that has been. Can you imagine? You're going to do business with a county that essentially should be able to benefit you as a citizen of this country, which is well within your rights to be able to do business. And it has become so normalized that you say, okay, you know what? If I'm going to make $1 million, let me just know that this part will go to some guy so that it can come out. Theatre of the absurd is where we are operating right now. And then people are just walking about as if it's normal. It's not normal.
Do you have an experience?
It's even a disease to be conditioned.
Imagine if you have experience with the pending bills from either county governments or the national government. Please, let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. Let's hear from you. So we know that yes, county governments owe people 153 billion shillings. The national government owes people over 400 billion shillings. The whole issue of paying the pending bills ends up with we've got to do a scrutiny of these bills to find out which ones are real. And then after that scrutiny is done, nothing happens. And then you'll start again, another scrutiny of pending bills. Do you want to own a home? The easier way to own a home is by making sure that instead of paying rent and not owning a home, you can pay rent to own a home. Rent yako, keja yako. The Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company is owned by the government of Kenya. Some 9 banks, some 11 SACCOs. It has the backing of the World Bank, Shelter Afrique, and the Africa Development Bank. What they do is they refinance your lender when they give you a home loan at less than 10% fixed for as long as 25 years. If you remember of Bingwa SACCO Limited or Credit Bank, or if you remember of Harambee SACCO, Imarika SACCO, Imarisha SACCO, Kenya Police SACCO, Mwalimu National SACCO, Safaricom SACCO, Stima SACCO, Tower SACCO, Ukulima SACCO, or Unitas. Those are participating in this plan by KMRC. Go to them, tell them nataka ile deal ya KMRC, jijenge, rent yako, keja yako.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 2022. My friend, bado unalipa rent? It's time to say goodbye to your landlord and say hello to your own home, courtesy of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Hapa KMRC tumeiweka simple sana. You can now own a home through our affordable home loans at fixed, less than 10% interest rate and for a longer repayment period of up to 25 years. Tumepartner with your local banks and SACCOs for this. Unangoja nini? KMRC inakusort na dream home yako. Kulipia nyumba yako ni kama tu kulipa rent. Visit www.kmrc.co.ke to see the participating banks and SACCOs na uanze maisha yako in your own keja. Jijenge na KMRC. Rent yako, keja yako. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Ladies, it's time to get information.
On your marks. Get set.
It's the Fit Like an Athlete Challenge, and we're getting fit and fabulous as we gear up for the Stand Chart Marathon. For the next 4 weeks, we'll be telling you about the it and how you can register for the marathon. Join me, Indra, and my co-hosts CT Muga and Eric Latif on the Situation Room from 6 a.m. every weekday to find out more about the Fit Like an Athlete Challenge and why you should register for the Stand Chart Marathon. Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 21, highs of 28 today and lows of 17. And we'll see lows of 11 in Nakuru, where it's sunny at 17. 18 and mostly cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 27 and lows of 14. And it's mostly sunny at 20 in Eldoret, going to highs of 26 and lows of 13. Today, a bit of rain in Mombasa, highs of 30 and lows of 24. And we'll see the same thing in a sunny Malindi, currently at 27. It's 27 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 32. And we'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Kakamega at 28. 25 and sunny now in Kampala. We'll see highs of 30 in a rainy Dar es Salaam. And it's 18 and raining as well in Johannesburg, highs of 24. And we'll see highs of 31 in a cloudy Lagos. It's 25 and rainy in Kinshasa, highs of 31. And looking out into Kampala, sunny at 25. I beg your pardon. Looking out into Beijing, it's sunny at 19, highs of 20 and lows of 4. Thunderstorms in Paris at 16, highs of 19. And 18 will be the high in a cloudy London at 13. It's cloudy at 14 in New York, still Sunday night. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 16 and lows of 14.
Spice up your life.
All right, so we are looking at better traffic situation through most parts of the city. Not looking too bad coming off of Thika Superhighway. It's much better now. Also, we're looking at on Kiambu Road. That still hasn't let up just yet, but through and through, it's flowing much better coming into the city. We'll take a look through the morning. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE. Keep things moving.
Everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
0719014600. Let us know your experience with pending bills at national or county level. The story in the Standard today is saying that suppliers are going to wait longer as county bosses audit 153 billion shillings of pending bills. So basically, the governors of Machakos, Turkana, Trans Nzoia, Kitui, Nairobi and others have gazetted pending bills verification committees. Other counties that have taken this route include Kilifi, Nyandarua, Bungoma, Kericho and Murang'a, even as many contractors and suppliers cry foul of mounting loan defaults as they wait for their money. The committees, with membership of between 7 and 15 members, are expected to scrutinize all the alleged pending bills and recommend to governors the ones that are genuine. The verification process will involve asking all the suppliers and contractors claiming to be owed by the counties to submit claims to the committee for consideration. The committees will review the bills, record descriptions of the works done, goods supplied or services given, and the dates, including exact locations. This will be followed by obtaining evidence of the delivery of goods or performance of the services, and then quantifying and evaluating the value for money of the work done, goods delivered, or services given. That is basically what they've started. You think this process is going to take, 2 weeks? No. It's going to take long. Nairobi, Sakaja has inherited pending bills worth 99 billion shillings. 99 billion. Kiambu, 5.87 billion shillings. Mombasa, 5.23 billion shillings. Those are the pending bills. How do you get to 99 billion shillings pending bills?
Yeah, this is my question. Has it gotten worse over time, or has this always been?
It is like 3 times the budget of the county government of Nairobi.
Has it always been this way, whereby people do business with the county and there will be a delay like this? Because I remember former President Uhuru Kenyatta, towards the end of 2018, is when he started saying, oh yeah, you people, Start paying these people, start clearing this thing. We then heard by October 2020, he said by the end of this month, it was an October just like this, by the end of this month, pending bills should be done what? They should be cleared. 2 years down the line, another October has rolled along, and we're still in the same place. My question is, has it always been, okay, let's just say since devolution 10 years or so ago, has it always been that you will do work for the county, you'll do business with the county, and there will be a delay like this?
Why don't you take it back to the days when there was a municipality? And let's take it even back to the Kibaki days. Remember when the Kibaki government introduced the ERT system and all these financial systems they brought into being. Remember, he took a hiatus. A whole year, funding developments, no, none, halt. Set these things in place, then start moving. You didn't need to go and talk to anyone. In fact, it was mandatory. You've got that job. You do your bit. You are told on this day to this day you will be paid. So we've got your account. You don't need to come here to ask. You would get paid. Not you think, you would get paid. If there were checks being issued, you'd be told, come and collect your check. Okay? You would be told, not you going to ask. Something changed. Because if you ask people who do the paying out, the money that was set aside for payment is actually made. So you have to ask, who did they pay?
Yeah.
And what were they paying for?
Because the money has come from the exchequer through the controller of budget to go and pay for goods and services supplied.
And that money doesn't exist, which means it was paid.
So where did it go?
That is the eternal question, is it not? Because if there was a huge amount that all counties have in the bank sitting somewhere, you could say, this guy didn't pay these debts. But that money is expended. You'll come to Nairobi City County, for instance. You'll find that a lot was owed to people like KEMSA. And yet the budget for that particular vote, done. So you ask, so what did these guys pay?
Where is the money?
Yeah. What did they do with the money? Because it's gone. And these guys are unpaid. And the money was intended to pay these people.
And the controller of budget cannot sign off anything. If you were supposed to pay for KEMSA and then you bring in a bill here for Ndu, controller of budget says no.
No, that's not it.
Wrong recipient.
Yes, and you know what that means? They assume you have the money. Yes. All these monies that we speak of, with all devolved functions, there is no county which will tell you this money is still sitting in our accounts, we have not spent it. All those monies have been spent, and yet they are pending bills. So what was the money spent on?
Where did it go?
Yes. And these pending bills, you would expect they reduce. They don't reduce.
They increase. This is what I'm asking you. It seems to be getting worse.
Uhuru Kenyatta sets up aside a certain amount of money and says, this time,
pay bills.
And they're billions. They're dished out. Born with the wind.
When the national government owes 450 billion shillings, that is more than the money that goes to all the counties in a financial year.
Combined,
Yes.
yes.
When the Nairobi City County government owes 99 billion shillings, that is more than 3 times the budget for Nairobi County in a year.
You seem to get the impression that they've never paid anybody for all the time they've been in existence.
99 billion shillings.
Yes. Where does the money go to? When we talk about monies in counties, we often just talk about the money that the national government gives them. What about own source revenue?
Yeah.
We never add that, do we? We never talk about it. So one doesn't even understand where it goes to. Now, you see, my argument about understanding what is done with the money and where it goes and where the shortfalls are after you've documented what you spent it on. In my mind, I can never run away from that discussion because this story of it isn't enough is a tiresome, it's a lopsided, it's a lame story. What do you do with the money? Get into the situation where you tell people about what you've done with the money. So when you talk of shortfalls, we understand. But shortfalls in a vacuum, it's just shortfall. It's not enough. It's not enough. If you talk to people in the counties, and I hope some people call in to tell you this, you will find when people tell you they know people who have died, it isn't some story that's a horror story that someone is conjuring up for drama, for the purpose of drama. No. If you used to do business with 200,000 shillings, the county comes along, and you suddenly have a business where you're now being told to 2 million. You know what you do? This house that you built, you have the title, you take it to the bank. Okay? So that they can give you the money. And you actually deliver.
They finance you to deliver.
Yes. You will even be paid, and you're supposed to be 2 million. You will probably be paid even $1 million. But this $1 million doesn't cover what you borrowed.
Yeah.
It keeps piling. The next thing you know, they want your house.
The bank comes for the house. It's collateral.
And that's where you live. So you start asking, why did I get into this business? Because I was living in my own house and doing
and I was all right.
Why did I want to do the 2 million shilling business? And there are many people who have that same story.
I think a fundamental question here, I mean, that one that we're asking in terms of what happened to the money. But then, if the work was done, that means the county as an entity is in a better place, right? Development has occurred, whatever needed to be done, good services have been delivered, and the work continued in that way. So if you're saying that money was paid out, because like you said, the COB is not going to allow for a different name to come in on a payment. It'll be the name for which this good services had been delivered. That is who you're going to pay, right? So this system inside here is the one that is working to make sure that they get their money. And on the face of it, it shows as though individuals have been sorted out. But then we still have this complaint on this side that I have not received my money. It has gone to this. So I think the fundamental question here, where does the money go?
Every county has
Where does it go?
long list of pre-qualified suppliers, very, very long list. If you're not a pre-qualified supplier, you will not be in the system. And as Eric put it, if you're not in the system, you can't get paid. The system has to know you exist. You, your PIN number, everything, it has to be there.
Yeah, so that means this one that they're owing is for the friends of the system. You're already pre-qualified.
I believe you have now understood it. You see,
That's where we are.
Once you're in the system, it is not difficult to get paid. Now, the reference is which tender, which number, doing what. When all those, and by the way, it's documentation. It's documentation. It isn't as though that this vetting committee or the task force goes to actually observe whether you actually built the road you're supposed to build. They don't go there. They look at paper. Now, you tell me, this is Kenya. How easy is it to generate paper? Or should I call it paperwork? How easy is it?
It's very sad, really. It's really, really, really sad and completely bizarre.
You know, history will judge this thing harshly. You know why? It seems to be the priority is not whether the lowest common denominator of the Mwananchi in this country gets the services and that they are uplifted from the levels of poverty that they have, or that they can have a guarantee of certain basic things, services in their lives, a good education, good health, you can have water, and you can even have a reasonable place to live in, affordable food. These basics don't seem to be a priority. The priority is like people get into positions where they are to make sure they are supposed to ensure this happens. And the priority is, how can I quickly get rich at whatever expense? Which in our system means, how can I extort or how can I steal in the fastest way possible?
Yeah.
And you see why the issue of the leadership issue comes in. The moment you have a situation where people who are at the very highest of the leadership totem pole, not that they are guilty, but questionable conduct, things that one can say, excuse me, this doesn't seem clear. You had these issues. Now, remember with us, once we've had this case where we are told the DPP has said they have withdrawn the case, okay? Now, around 2002 and the periods leading to 2010 when we promulgated our constitution, one of the things that was in the system, this independent we keep talking about, independent this, independent this. The truth of the matter was, we're supposed to have a DPP, someone called a public defender, and a legal aid service, okay? Somewhere along the line, the independence of the DPP remained. The public defender, that role, position, somehow went into the smoke. Why do I mention the public defender? The DPP has powers, but for him to ensure that a case is terminated, the court, remember, it's the court has to give the leeway.
Yeah.
He's independent, yes, but the court, he doesn't need the court to be able to prosecute, but the court has to say, okay, this has been done. Now, once the court does that, the DPP can't go back to that issue, but the public defender can. Because it's now a private what? Court matter. Because DPP is government. Now, if you don't have a public defender, you have no recourse.
Yeah.
Once the DPP says it's done and the court does its thing,
You're
we're
exposed.
kwisha. But even these legal aid cases, yes, that's supposed to be, I am unable to afford legal services. The government's supposed to provide this. The fact that we have people languishing in jail over some petty offenses, some offense which the police decided is an offense.
Yeah.
Okay? That number, it means this legal aid services is not working.
It's just not helping. Like the case that we read of that former cop who was jailed for 6 times 4.
Surely.
6 months for 4 different counts to be served concurrently.
You tell me.
And then his own reading of the law is like, I shouldn't be penalized for more than 6 months.
Yes.
If at all.
And yet
if I'm jailed. And the only offense that I've committed here is I stood as surety for somebody who had a case in court. That person has gone missing. I cannot produce them. And because I'm the surety, I'm then sent to jail.
Now you tell me. How many other cases do you think there are, say for instance, of mistaken identity?
Yeah.
That identity of yours can be as mistaken as it likes, but you are going to be in jail. Then who is going to aid you? Who is going to provide legal service? Who's going to champion your case for you? What am I saying? I am saying that there are certain issues we have that just by dint of what the Constitution has, the direction it has taken and what Parliament has then proceeded to do, you don't have recourse for a relook, for a rethink, and for even a change of direction. It's like the tunnel has been created and there is no diversion from it.
Once you enter,
it is, and you can't move backwards.
You can't move back. It's one way.
Yes.
You
And
get
it's
stuck
dark.
along the way. It's
Yes.
dark. You don't know what you're going to find along the way, but you're in it.
Yes, you are. Now, it ends up being with us in a situation where, when you talk about an independent office, they're as independent and as powerful as their appointing officer. So that independence becomes questionable. And that question doesn't just go to the office of the DPP. No, it goes to our courts as well. Say they're independent, you ask, how independent?
the independent judiciary, how independent?
How independent is it?
Independent police.
How independent are they?
What you raise, City, is actually a very fundamental issue because, like you said, there are very many. We're told this by the president of the Law Society of Kenya. There are very, very many people who are in jail today serving sentences that are less than 2 years.
Yes. What are they doing in jail serving sentences?
This person, for example, should have served a sentence of 6 months, but they ended up staying in prison for 2 years.
Yes.
Because there was a case going on.
Which never seemed to end. Postpone.
And this is just because they never ended up before the judge.
No, they didn't. They didn't have anyone to take up their case.
Yes. How many such other people are there who are suffering in the system? And I think it's a very important conversation to have. I know the institute, what's it called? ICJ. What are they called?
Council of Jurists.
International Commission of Jurists,
yes.
Kenya chapter, has been doing some work on that, on the state of our correctional facilities and those people that ought not to be there who should be serving non-custodial sentences. And I think we can interview them to come and have and shed light on this and what they've been doing. Because it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like it's a machine that is made to swallow people, to swallow the most innocent people, get them into the system, and while they're in the system, they become a business for somebody else.
Sure, and once you're in the system, that's it.
That's it.
And the push is for you to actually get into the system
ingia
because
hapo.
they know that is where they will then be able to.
But
eat
consider
off.
these people are the most vulnerable in our societies because they don't have someone, they don't have the means to be able to defend themselves. They're the ones who ought to have been defended.
It is upon the vulnerable that then one is able to make a killing, though. You're not going to be able to make a killing over somebody who is well about their possession. You won't be able to do that. You won't be somebody who's aware of their rights, somebody then who has the financial muscle to be able to secure somebody who will then secure those rights. It's upon the vulnerable that people will prey. And that is it. It is upon the people who have no say that the system then feeds off of.
Let's go to the phone lines. I have someone on the line. Yes. Andrew Franklin from Bernard Estate. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to just make this very simple.
Okay.
Last hour, you had Bimal Shah, who has a great company, Bidco.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that he's not sitting there now, so you could ask him, how much business does Bidco ever do with the government of Kenya, with counties, or any other official body in this country? Mm-hmm. In other words, would Bidco actually do business here with government and try to get an honest... I mean, these are things where you have guests periodically, and they're compartmentalized. They sit in their silos, they talk about whatever they're there to talk about. And then the next hour, the next day, or the next week, you're back talking about how people are losing their homes and livelihoods because of the corrupt nature of this kleptocracy. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Well, he is right in that if we pick up the conversation from what Ndu was saying, there are those in this system who get paid. And when you hear of a backlog, they're not in that list of people who have never paid. So the question,
this system then is actually capable of seeing work having been done, the proper documentation having been lodged, and then the payments going out with speed and alacrity. So it's not a for want of capability. It's not that can we actually do this thing? Yes, you can. But again, it is upon the vulnerable and those who've not been able to shake the financial hand that the system preys.
Or they're not connected to the offices or the powers.
Exactly.
The powers that be.
You know, even when you're connected to the powers that be, this is the problem. That connection just keeps growing. They can actually extort or steal money. Everyone. And it is considered to be normal. How we're going to get rid of this, I don't know.
I don't know.
And before, it was something people spoke of in darkness. It was something that people spoke of quietly and something people whispered. No one whispers about it anymore. It's an open discussion. An open system. How much? If you don't forget
really it is how much. If you don't have, forget about it.
Or
from
even
this
how
one that
much.
we're going to give
This is
you,
what we want.
Yes. So for this money that we are going to pay you, from it, this is what we want.
Yes, upfront.
So if you're not taking it, the next person will come along and do it.
Yes.
It's a system bullish in nature. And that's just the truth of the matter.
It's even more alarming when you think about it. When you hear of people speaking of appointments within government being bought. Now that sends shivers down your spine. That there are actually people who, if this is really true, and if it's just an allegation, then hallelujah, it's an allegation and that's it. It is someone spewing some really negative stuff.
Yeah.
But if happens to be even a sliver of truth to it, that people actually put money aside to pay for positions. So all these interviewing processes are just that, for us to see that you're going through it, and yet it's already been determined. So and so has
Fool's errand.
Yes, someone has paid the right
chase.
amount for this job. This one is going to so and so. This one is going to so and so. This one is going to so and so.
And then this is the person who will take the position because they are going to represent this and that.
Yes, in this and this. Now, somebody who's paid for a position, when they get to that job, what do you think they're going to do?
Impunity.
Yes, exactly.
Impunity. I bought this position.
And they know they bought it.
Yeah. What are you asking me?
Why would they want to listen to you?
I bought the position.
That's why it's mine.
Yeah.
And I can do with it as I see fit.
These are all your own questions. Hey, so let me tell you about the room as we conclude the conversation today. City.
Yes, please.
What do you understand by full stack software engineers?
Full stack soft engineers.
Software
engineers. The name or what is what that phrase is supposed to mean?
What does it mean?
From where I sit, because I am sitting, it's a full complementary. When you're thinking software, take your mind and expand it in every direction. And whatever you think, which is based on what you think you will need, you will find it there. So it's fully stacked.
Completely.
Yes.
You are right on the money.
Yes.
Highly skilled engineers, rigorously
Thank you very
trained
much.
in web, app, software development, both front-end, back-end, and development operations. That's a full-stack software engineer. Those ones are trained by airlexafrica.com and they are found in theroom.com. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Found in theroom.com. Go there to theroom.com and make sure that you get your talent from there. Vigorously vetted, handpicked for you. Running this Sunday, are you and your ladies ready?
We're ready.
You've been practicing?
Doing the thing.
Feeling like another team?
Feel like an athlete. Okay. Feel like an athlete, Train this week, guys, but don't overdo it because, Sunday comes and you need to get some of that marathon business going. So, a little bit of something every day is going to stack up to your performance for Sundays. Bright and early, come and get it in.